The M6 is burning their mattresses again.
Councilors? Good evening, everybody. I'm going to call the special budget workshop meeting to order. Today is Wednesday, April 22nd. And Sue, will you call the roll, please?
Mayor Lesser,
Here.
Deputy Mayor Rhodes, Councilor Bailey,
Here.
Councilor DeChacho,
Here.
Councilor Durick,
Here.
Councilor Forrest,
Here.
Councilor Pentelow,
Here.
Councilor Wands,
Here.
Councilor Weiner.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. And we don't typically do the pledge at the budget workshops. We have 6 departments tonight, and our leadoff hitter is our tax collection department head, Marlene. We're so happy you're here, and we're looking forward to hearing all about tax collection. And just so we have, I think, 4 new counselors, just so you know, with each department head comes up, they'll do a brief presentation about their budget, and then we'll have an opportunity to ask questions. I don't know if you want to.
Yeah, I just wanted to set it up a little bit for those that are new.
Go ahead.
You have the binders in front of you. Obviously, you have the budget books from before, but the binders that are in front of you, and they're set up by date. So for each meeting, you'll see under Wednesday, the 22nd, and you can open it up to tax collector. And it's basically a quick overview of the changes for you all to see. And so if there's any question, and also at the bottom, you'll notice, and this is for each department, you'll see this health benefit cost. It gives you what the amount was. We took that out of each department budget, just like we did last year. I kind of briefed you on this last year, where we're taking out benefits out of the departments, because it's not an accurate reflection of what's going on in the department. And sometimes it can look like there's major increases or major drops that really have nothing to do with what the department's doing. It's just that, like as an example, if we have somebody that retires after 20 years, you'll see a drop in the budget, and it doesn't make a lot of sense. And it'll, oh, wow, that department's doing great. But so what we've done, what I'm used to, and what I think is a best practice, all the benefits are just going to be under general government, and it'll be broken down that way. And that way you can see the true change from year to year of what is healthcare, what is pension costs, what is, et cetera. So that's why we did that, and it just makes it a more truer reflection for not just you all, but for the public as well. When they're looking at each department's budget, they can really see what's changing. Because, you know, if you have a new hire, as an example, for healthcare benefits, and they're, you know, a young person in their 20s and they're single and they just need, you know, healthcare for one, that's a very small number versus the department that has, everybody's married and has kids, and the healthcare cost is much, much more. So we wanted to keep it consistent and show, you know, really what the departments have control over when we're viewing the budgets like that. So if there's any question on that, Mike's here as well, and we can cover some of that.
Thank you. Just a quick question. So we did that last year, correct?
With pension, yes.
With pension, but not with health insurance?
No, we were waiting on, because we were still in the process of getting the new budget system in place, and the pension was a fairly easy thing for us to do last year. Healthcare was a lot more to the decoupling that had to take place, so we held off a year on that. But now
The actual increase or decrease, it's not the actual compared to last year. We still have to factor in the health insurance and everything else.
correct.
Okay.
Yep,
Thank you.
exactly.
Mr. Town Manager, on that point exactly, where is the general? Where will we find that in our budget books for the general government section?
The budget book, Mike, do you have the page number for that? It's towards the back.
So Forrest, if
Yeah.
you would bring your mic down so people can hear.
And by the budget book, that's this one. But is it also? It probably will not be reflected in the.
We'll be covering it later when we have finance and town manager. The last day we'll cover those issues, but 240.
240 in the budget.
Yep.
All right. Thank you.
Marlene, you're up.
Hey, good evening. My budget is pretty much lean. There's not much there other than the cost to print the bills, all the processing of the bills, and we have some travel and training dues. That's up a little bit this year because we have a new tech assistant. He's going to be taking his final course, and then there will be the state exam he will have to sit for to become fully certified. Other than that, I don't really have any changes.
Thank
try.
And I should have mentioned just quickly, on each department's page, you'll notice it has budget detail, and it gives you the page number in the budget book to find that. So you're not, struggling to find it each way. So
Page
that's
99, what's
right
at
up
the top.
top.
Yep.
Tax collector, 177.
And Mr. Town Manager, if I'm understanding correctly and looking at page 99 there, although we don't know this year's department number exactly, we know that last year there was health insurance of $29,977. So with an overall department decrease of $31,771, or at least $2,000 beyond the health, so it's actually a decreased budget, even if you take out the health insurance.
So you can actually look at the bottom of the department page in the binder.
Yep.
It does show the health benefits consolidated for the tax collector's office on there.
Okay, thank you.
So, thank you, Marlene. That was quick. And then just we have some other folks, just, you did a name and department. If you want how long you've been here, you can certainly do that. But I'm going to open it up now to counselors for any questions of Marlene. This is on a tax collector on that particular budget only. Any counselors have a question? Counselor Pentelow.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. I read it. I saw it across the board pretty close, but like copies and bindings, it went from 14,000 to 21,000. Is that just the nature of the business we're in at this point, or?
Yeah, it's the quotes from the vendor, the cost to print the bills. They print the envelopes for us and all. They do the paper stock. It's all the colored paper stock they print. That was all came from the quotes from our vendor.
Thank you. So I saw it across pretty much through the budgets, and it seems like they rose pretty high, for year to year, if you look at it, that's all.
But thank you, Councilor Pentelow. If I'm reading that correctly, that proposed budget is, for that item, let me go back to copying, 18,807?
21.
Is that for the adopted one? I'm just,
No, 18,807 is the proposed budget. That's what we're
Correct.
looking at, right?
Correct.
The
21 was the one
this fiscal year.
so it looks like it's going down a little
Yeah.
bit based on, yeah.
We eliminated the book binding costs because they give me a book when they print the bills. It's nothing that says it has to be bound in a fancy cover, so we no longer do that.
So, thank you, Councilor Pentelow. Further council questions or comments? Councilor Durk, and I have Councilor Wands on deck.
Thank you. Just a quick question, so there's no confusion later. As far as the drop safe deposit system, we're seeing 5,000 reduction. It says not funded. Can you just give us more details on that, please?
Yeah, I believe we decided not to go with the safe on that.
Something we were looking into last year, and it ended up being much more expensive than 5,000.
So we're not doing that at all?
We're not spending any money on that this year.
Okay.
Nor are we asking for it.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Durk. Councilor Wands?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I was just wondering, in the support services line 52225, it's a decrease of about 20%, and what is the reason for the decrease year over year there?
The,
It's what we just mentioned.
yeah, it's the drop safe. The drop safe was in there, was
Okay.
under there.
Thank you.
Councilor Wands? All set? Thank you. Further Councilor Forrest?
Is the drop safe, was that the concept that we had where people could then have a place to actually drop it if you guys weren't open?
No,
Is that the concept for that, or is that
It was
something
actually for us to put the deposits in. Instead of going to the bank, we would put the deposits right in the safe. It would be in my vault, and then Dunbar would come pick it up when it was full and transport it to the bank.
different? And so if we're not doing that, what is the current operation?
We're taking the deposits to the bank.
Just every day?
Yeah.
So if we did have that, it sounds like it would be an efficiency gain, right? You wouldn't have to go to the bank every day. Was that the idea behind it?
Safe you can buy it's communicates with the bank, and it gives you credit while it's in the vault. Reads, it's like a bill reader, it reads it, and you do credit for it. You wouldn't have to go as often. But again, it's more expensive than we
If the bank gives us credit at the time of receipt rather than going down to the time of deposit, would we then see an increase in revenue because we'd be able to invest that money? That money would be in our fund that would be invested?
It just prevents us from going to the bank ourselves. presently. We used to go with a police escort, we stopped doing that because we didn't want to tie up police resources. So we have someone who's willing to go now, goes every day, and just trying to find a way to move away from that.
Besides the safe, is there anything else that you requested or wanted in your budget that's not in the budget?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Forrest. Further council comments or questions? I just have one. Marlene, can you comment on the tax collection rate? How we doing? And
We have gone over budget and all the criteria. Current levy is over 100% right now, so we're at the others. So we're at 106% on prior, we're at 103% on supplementals, and 147% on interest and liens.
can you, for all of us, and particularly the new councilors, kind of explain maybe what that is and going over 100% and, you know?
So basically, we brought in more than what was asked in the budget so that we have that cushion there. We always want to go a little bit, I always try to exceed what I did the year before.
Yeah.
But we always try to go over the number that's there.
Good news. Yeah. Anybody, if no one else has anything else? Thank you, Marlene. I think we're all set. Appreciate it. And Walter, our assessor, and just kind of introduce yourself to the new people and everything, and welcome.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Walter Topliff. I'm the assessor. For my budget, there's a couple things that went up. With the phase-in for the reval, we had to add postage, and that's $11,000 to mail out everybody a notice to tell them that they're going to have an assessment increase. That's by statute. Every time an assessment goes up for real estate or personal property, we have to notify you with a notice. And so we had to mail that. Our little motor vehicle pricing package went up a little bit. We added MLS access to our office because that's very vital to us. People don't really let you in their houses anymore. And, we get a lot of interior photos and a lot of information from MLS that we wouldn't normally have for the real estate. Near map, we added mid-year last year, and this is an increase over what they did before. And that increase is we added a portion of that bill that allows us to keep the aerial flight photos for multi-years. So they fly 2 or 3 times a year, and we have access, not only access to them, but if we stop the subscription, we own those aerial photos now. They're ours, opposed to we had a subscription service before, where as long as we subscribed, we'd have access to them. So now we own them and they're ours. So that's important. And our vendors, they went up a little bit. So.
That concludes your, thank you.
That's my
So,
presentation.
Thank you, Walter.
Any questions?
Open it up to Counselor Bailey and then Counselor DeChaccio.
Just one quick one. 52,225, the support services shows a $5,000 increase. What was that?
That is the vendors. All their fees went up. And, I have quality, I have equality, I have, near map, I have,
So it's more contractual.
it's all contractual.
Okay.
Thank you,
That's all,
Counselor
Mr.
Bailey.
Mayor.
I have Counselor DeChaccio and then Deputy Mayor Rhodes.
How are you? My question would be the salary decrease with the vacancy or transfer. Do we have something, there's nothing built in the budget for that? Are you looking for it? Should we expect you looking for it? Or that's what you're going to move forward with for the department?
I'm going to turn that over to Mike.
That's a part-time position that is currently in the assessor's office that we're proposing to move to economic development.
and it's unfilled.
And is that in anyone's budget, or we're going to see that?
You see that in economic development.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Nunzio. Deputy Mayor Rhodes.
I think I know the answer to this, but just the copy and binding external, that increase, is that reflective of the 11,000 in the notices?
How much did copy and binding go up?
It went from 3,787 in the 26 budget to 17,180, so it's a significant increase.
Yes, that was the mailing for the
Sorry, what was it?
the phase-in notices.
Great, that was what I thought, thank you.
It was just mailing. I'm sorry, I didn't hear. It was just for...
It was the mailing.
All right, I had the same thing. Thank you.
Based on the reval.
Yep.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Rhodes. I see a lot of hands. Councilor Weiner, Councilor Wands, you're on deck.
Yeah,
Councilor
good
Weiner.
evening. Just a quick question on the aerial imaging. It's great that we're going to own them now. Do we still pay support services for storage in the cloud, or are we storing them on premise here in Town Hall with IT, or how is that being handled?
They're stored on the cloud.
They are, okay.
Yeah.
And is that part of the support services contract with the
Yes.
sort of? Got it, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Weiner, our resident expert on the cloud. Thank
Right,
you.
I'm always in the clouds.
That's
Good to have people in different places.
Councilor Wands.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wanted to follow up on Councilor Decatio's question there. I know that the position is shifting to a different department. Is that a position that you hope to regain in a future year? Or is it something that you only needed during the reevaluation? Can you speak to is this are you appropriately staffed at 4, or do you need that position in the future?
A number of years ago, when I first started, I've been here 3.5 years now. My first budget, I came in here and I asked the council I had 2.5 people working for me and with that part-timer, and I asked for a full-timer, and it's been vacant ever since because the council granted me. I'm fully staffed in the assessor's office. I don't need any other personnel.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor Wands. Councilor Durk.
Thank you, Mayor. Hi, Walter. Quick question on the 90,000 CNEF request for reval. What exactly is that for?
Okay, so we're going to be doing a revaluation for October 1st, 2028. So I'm going to need some money in 27. Okay, I'm going to go out to bid again, and I'm expecting the contract to come in, and this is a portion of that contract. Okay. So start putting it away piece at a time.
This is what we've done in the past. We put a little bit in the years leading up to it, so it's not a big hit all at once.
Thank you, and that's for the next revaluation, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. Further council questions or comments? Councilor Forrest.
I was on that one, and what is going to be the total number, though, that we're looking for that you're going to need by 28? Is it 9 times 3? Is it 270,000? I'm ballpark here, so we can.
The last revaluation cost the town, just for the revaluation services and the pictures, it costs us $184,000. So I'm expecting something in the neighborhood of $200,000.
And so do we have 3 budgets to plan for that, or 2 budgets to plan for that? Or another number?
We have an analysis that I'm happy to share with the council. There will be 2 budgets to get to that main piece, the 180.
Yeah.
We're also incurring still legal fees for tax appeals from the last readout, so there's a little bit of ongoing. Our analysis shows all of that.
But the legal fees are not part of the revaluation assessing part, right? That's just to actually do the revaluation. The legal fees will be another part of the budget?
We pay for the appeals, the cost of the revaluation itself, and we have a small amount for some software that we pay for as well. We've got a nice analysis with all the history on that. That's been the practice.
From a budget perspective, though, do the legal fees, when there's an appeal and so on and so forth, come out of the reval line?
They come out of the reval project and CNEF, capital non-recurring expenditure.
Which is this line item that is asking for 90,000. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Forrest. Any other comments or questions from the council? Seeing none, thank you, Walter.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Appreciate it. Next on our agenda is engineering. Derek, welcome.
Is it better set up?
Yeah.
Oh, good, that's what we need, more paperwork.
Well, and you know what else is better? I can say it into the microphone because I think it's
Fill the
great.
job yet?
Is this page and the relation to everything else.
Yes,
The
Here's where
part-time
you go.
one.
Here's where it is.
good.
Oh, yeah?
I mean, I was like,
Yeah, and it's more colorful.
remember it being just.
Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, wait, I took two. Look at me overachieving.
Over engineering the project.
Yeah, right?
I'm a dad, you know. He comes
But
from
I know, dad jokes.
Dad jokes are just what I do.
I think I have an extra one. Enough? Whenever you're ready, Derek. Thank you.
Hey, good evening. My name is Derek Greger. I'm the town engineer. Just to give you an overview of what we do, I have 7 full-time and 1 part-time seasonal employee in the department. We generally manage the town's right-of-way and infrastructure, so we administer annual programs like paving, pavement preservation, sidewalks, pavement markings. We issue permits for work in the right-of-way, perform survey and manage our GIS data, do design work, and generally provide technical assistance for town departments. So looking at my budget for this coming year, under A for personnel cost, we had 1 increase related to overtime pay. That's generally for having private duty funding for police officers when we need them for maintenance protection of traffic, which we do from time to time on jobs that may not be paid out of the road maintenance fund. When it is, then we usually pay for the overtime from that. But when it's not, I need some additional funding. So that was an increase from $6,000 to $7,000 in this budget. Moving to the non-personnel increases, the first item, copying and binding, shows a deduction of $500. Actually, that was an error on my part. I didn't mean to reduce that. I would like to reinstate the $500. We've always had that every year, so I noticed that this afternoon. The second item for FAA drone pilot testing, we bought a drone last year. We have a couple department staff that are going to get their pilot's license related to that. So there's a cost associated with it, so that's the $400 increase. Under support services, we had a $1,000 increase in software. AutoCAD is our design software that we use daily with a lot of our staff. It's just an increase that's coming with that this coming year. Repairs and maintenance of $1,800 for wetland flagging is just really because costs for wetland flagging have gone up. We are doing more projects now. When they do require a wetlands flagging, that amount, between that and what we had before, I think was $1,200. So we're looking for $3,000. That's probably 2, maybe 3 projects worth. And it varies from year to year, but I have run out of those funds at times in the past. The largest increase is the last item for guide rail installation and repairs. The engineering department had taken over guide rail maintenance from physical services in recent years. We have a $25,000 budget in the past, which we use for doing repairs when vehicles strike guide rail, it gets damaged. We do go after the insurance companies for that when we can, but we do need money up front to pay for it. Also, we can do some smaller repair projects. We have identified about $350,000 worth of guide rail repairs around town that we know we need to do. So I asked for an increase from $25,000 to $35,000 this year, just to give us a little bit more to be able to do some of those, at least do some of those smaller projects and try and take care of them where they can. We have a lot of guide rail that's deteriorated over the years and needs either repair or replacement. So overall, our non-personnel budget went up about 3%. That's mostly due to that last item for $10,000. While we're on budget, I had passed out a memo dated December 30th. That was to the town manager. That was something that we had discussed during my initial budget meetings about the sidewalk program. I had looked at some options for town council to consider. As you may know, right now, the residents here in town by ordinance are responsible for repairs along the sidewalks in the right-of-way along the property frontages. Unless the damage is caused by a town tree or it's along town property, they're responsible for the repair. So our staff spends quite a bit of time every year, a lot of administrative work, inspecting sidewalks, issuing repair notices, meeting with the owners sometimes multiple times, going back multiple times to the site to ensure the work gets done. It's a lot of work for staff. We've been doing that in our budgets in the past, typically have a couple components. One is a $40,000 cost. That is what we use for doing repairs that the town may be responsible for when it's not, when our physical services staff is not available or just can't get to something. We have a contractor on call that will do that work for us. There's another portion of that, which is about $35,000 that was implemented a couple years ago by council, which is a residential sidewalk assistance program to help people that may have difficulty completing those repairs, provide funding. We have been using that program. It did, first year we used it a lot, last year not as much. Not sure exactly why, but with that program, property owners that receive a notice to do repairs have the option to fill out a form, submit it to Social and Youth Services. They have to give a lot of their information, financial status, and then Social and Youth Services will evaluate and determine they may be eligible for 50% funding, like we'll pay for half, they pay for half, up to 100% funding depending on their situation. So we do have that and have been using it. Some other options that the town manager and I had discussed were, there's an option for the town to take over the sidewalks in the right-of-way. I mean, ultimately, we are responsible. Ultimately, if there are trips and falls and injuries, the town's insurance policy is involved in that. And I had done this memo a few months ago, just kind of looking at the last couple of years, how much work we've done, what I would estimate if we were to go that route, how much money would be best to have annually, so we can plan our sidewalk repair projects. I think it would, that option would make it a little more efficient for staff. We can plan our projects, schedule them. We could do them in large chunks instead of it being a lot of individual 1 and 2 slabs at different properties, dealing with all the property owners. So with that option, it's all outlined in here, but I think I would recommend a budget of $300,000 a year. Where that money comes from, there's different options that could be discussed. The other option that's been discussed is maybe a 50-50 program where we, kind of a step up from the residential sidewalk assistance, where we would just offer 50% reimbursement for, it could be all properties, residential and commercial, or it could be just residential, but where we would split costs with them. I will say the one concern I have with that particular program is I think it's going to be even more administrative work for us, in the sense that we still have to go out, we still have to do all the same inspections, issuing notices. However, now we got to figure out how we're going to share costs with people. Our owners could be required to give us a check, and then we schedule and do the work, and then that's got to come in. Now it involves finance, it's got to go into an account. So it's just going to be a lot more work, I think, for a lot more departments, but that is another option we could consider. If we did go that route, I noted in there, I still would keep the residential sidewalk assistance. I mean, I think there are some property owners that even at a 50-50 program would have a hard time paying for it, so that would at least give them full coverage when they qualify. Or the other option is we continue as we have been, which we have been for many years. It's noted here in the memo, I mean, there are other towns, I think 47 other towns in Connecticut that have similar ordinances to us. But we have been very aggressive with that in recent years to really get out there and try and get a lot more work done. And if you look at the statistics, we've done quite a bit more work than we did in previous years, which we do have a part-time seasonal inspector that primarily handles that. At the time, that is currently a vacant position we're trying to fill. We haven't had much luck. We had a gentleman for 3 years, but he moved out of the area. So we're trying to refill it. And that's, when I say part-time seasonal, it's 30 hours a week, 29 and a half hours a week, pretty much construction season, which is April through November timeframe, and then they're off in the winters, and then they come back. So those are some things for council to consider, depending on how you choose to move forward. There may be a need for some additional funding in my operating budget, unless we find other ways to fund the options I discussed.
Thank you, Derek. Appreciate that. I'm now going to open it up for councilors' questions and comments. I saw Councilor Bailey first, then Councilor Forrest. Councilor Bailey.
2 quick ones. The first one is on the guardrails. Is that new installs or repairs? Both. Both. Which cheaper, the wood or the flex?
Surprisingly, it depends on the situation. Wood is generally more expensive. If we go with a wooden guide rail, that's typically more expensive. Our normal standard would be to do either galvanized metal beam rail or weathered metal beam rail. Weathered is the brownish rusted looking, so it's not, so bright and galvanized. We do have a lot of the 3-cable rail around town, and that's mostly what's been, hasn't been maintained well. If it gets struck once, if you have 200 feet of it gets hit in one area, you got to really repair their whole thing. They don't have to repair every post, but they do have to retighten everything, sometimes re-anchor it. So our preference, our general standard is metal beam rail, whether it be galvanized or weathered, and that really depends on where it's being installed. When we're in residential areas, we try to do the weathered so it doesn't stand out as much, look as gaudy, let's say.
Second question is about the sidewalks. The town crew is still, I know last budget or a couple budgets ago, we bought some equipment, added a mason. Do you know what the ratio is? And has any, how do I put this? Has any thought been put into the residentials having the town side do it to lower the cost for the residents?
Yes, so, yes, so we did add staff. I would say in the last year or two, it's transitioned a lot. I mean, before pretty much all our work went to outside contractor. Most of it now is being done in-house. The process is when we have a list of locations to do, it goes to physical services. They evaluate what they can and can't do, and then if they can't do work, then we'll reassign it to our contractor. But I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it is substantially heavy on the town side of doing things. And I believe, and I didn't mention it with the options that we were talking about, that I think Sally Katz is evaluating staffing needs that could supplement, if we took over either 50/50 or took over the sidewalks, they could do that work at a lower cost. What the numbers I'm giving you are if we were to put it out to a bid and have a contractor available for it.
Fair enough, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Bailey. And good question on the taking more work in-house. Appreciate that. Councilor Forrest, you were next.
Thanks. Got a couple here, Derek. The first is, you mentioned that there was approximately $350,000 worth of sort of guide rail work that needs to be done. Am I going to find that? I didn't see that necessarily in the CIP section that you talked about, or am I missing it? Or where is that located?
That is one of our capital improvement project requests. I mean, I didn't discuss that yet, but I do have a request for $75,000 in this year, really just to start that process, which would...
Oh, that's under the tier rank, that's the number 375?
Tier 3 on the back side of that.
Got it. Yes. Okay, and now, but there's a total number. Is that total number located somewhere, even though, like, instead of the build-up, if we just want to say, let's take care of business?
It was part of our, when we went to CIAC, Capital Improvement Advisory Committee, we brought in, narratives that discussed that, and that's where we outlined the cost estimates and the locations that we had.
I'll find that. We'll find that in the total CIP list. I'm sort of looking at the town manager as well. We'll find that in the total, the 350, the total to get the job done, and then even though the amount put in the budget was 75 to work up to that.
Find it? What do you mean?
There's a total amount of that we were approximating, of course, of $350,000 to take care of all of the guardrails.
Yes.
In this budget, in order to work our way there, it looks like there's an associated $75,000 request.
Correct.
Is there going to be, if I were to look at the list of CIP, am I going to find the total cost of what the town really needs, and then an associated number of, like, what's been sort of put in the budget to work there?
Yeah, the CIP goes out multiple years, and you'll see the other figures in the out years.
Okay. Now, I notice here on the first page, and by the way, by page, it was just like the cover letter that that you've provided to us. There's a transfer out. So what is there a secondary fund for the sort of emergency moments, and that's what this is handling? You have to get in there quickly and you need a fund in order to do a quick repair, so to speak?
The funding itself for guide rails, yes. In my budget, there's a new category for transfers out, which are a lot of our annual operating expenditures that get moved into CIP accounts. So they're there. If we don't use them all, that money remains there, and it's for things like pavement markings, guide rail, sidewalks, miscellaneous drainage, things like that. So that's something that Finance and I had talked about doing last year, where the money, once approved in my budget, gets transferred to CIP accounts, so it's available for that.
So it's a collective question probably. Is now there a new account for guardrails, markings, et cetera, that's kind of like that emergency account that's separate from the guardrail account?
Yes.
And is that the 58880 account?
5880 is the org number that goes with all the transfers. Each one of those transfers into a different CIP account, one for pavement markings, one for sidewalks. So every year, the money will go into that, and if there's money left over from the previous year. The problem with it remaining as it has in our operating budget is we lose it at the end of the year if it really isn't spent or somehow encumbered.
Okay.
So that was a way of us having these funds available, and that way, if the account grows a little bit, if we don't use it all, and then we can do more with those funds then.
We have a bunch of accounts like that. I get that. What, maybe to Mike,
That
if,
makes
is that all right? Mike, where is that account? Where will we find the fund for these?
So in CIP, in the fund itself. So what you end up seeing is the amount in 58880 gets fully expended at the beginning of the fiscal year. Those funds, it's a transfer. Those funds move over to CIP to a sort of annual guide rail account, separate from other projects. What it allows us to do is what Derek said. We don't have to carry POs. We got into the situation where we had funds encumbered in the general fund and we had POs, that would last several months after year end, 6 months or longer. This allows us to move it at the beginning of the year to the capital improvement fund, to a separate project, and track it from there. If there's other needs for guide rails, we can transfer from other projects into that project. You can see all the guide rail work in one place. It's easier to track it than having it in multiple places.
It sounds like this is not a guide rail account. It's got multiple uses, this account, right?
This account leaving the general fund has these items that you see on page 175 combined. When that money moves to the capital improvement fund, it's in separate projects.
So is all this money then going to be held in just like a general CIP fund, or is it in CIP but a separate fund that handles these particular
separate projects within the capital improvement fund?
Derek, last year, the council, we were having some conversations that if the council wanted to improve and pave more roads, do more projects, and et cetera, that the engineering department was having some issues sort of keeping up with not enough personnel, et cetera, right? So the council increased the personnel in your office. If the council wanted to continue in the progress of this town, paving more roads, doing more projects, are you at full capacity now where you'd push back, and maybe rightly so, on the council and say, hey, you guys might want to do all this great stuff, but we don't have enough people to do all that great stuff? Where are we in that balance of progress and engineering the progress?
Yeah, understood. Yeah, I mean, thank you to the council for last year for doing that. We did advertise that position. It's a very high-level technical engineering position. Last year, we couldn't fill it, to be honest with you, through summer, fall. So we ended up making some changes internally, moved some staff around. We recategorized that particular position that was added to a construction manager position, which honestly just got filled last week. So I had somebody start new last week. So as of last week, we're fully staffed, like aside from our seasonal inspector I mentioned, that's another vacancy we have. So to be honest with you, I haven't had a really good chance to evaluate where we are. I mean, I think, we do have a lot of projects. We do have a lot of backlog. I could probably use another maybe lower level engineer at some point to help. But I haven't had really a chance to get a good handle on how much we can accomplish because we're just getting staffed up right now.
So if this council wanted to continue more and more projects, do you think that we can handle it in this budget season, in this next following year with what we have? Or should we be looking to add some more personnel to engineering, like that low-level engineer you just mentioned?
That is very specific to the projects we're going to be doing. Some projects we're very capable of doing in-house, and we can do that. Other projects we would need to get consultants on board for, which is a whole nother way of managing projects. So, I think we're operating probably above capacity, or we have been for a lot of years, really pushing out as much as we possibly can and doing it as well as we can. So I think it would be more specific to which projects you're talking about. If you're talking about increasing paving funding, I think we can accommodate more because we're already doing that work. We would just add another road or two to a program. I think that's very doable. But if we're talking about, I don't know, there's sidewalk projects, drainage projects, and a whole bunch of stuff that needs to be done. It kind of depends on the level and amount we're talking about, if that would be helpful.
Well, I mean, on our CIP, and you've requested here, there's all that kinds of stuff. So if we were to increase CIP by a number, are we going to be able to handle it, or now are we going to need consultants and that adds costs and so on and so forth?
The requests we put in are requests for work that either we are already doing or projects that I feel we can do. Some of them are for future projects that we're going to need funding for, and we're trying to get ahead of it. So it's not all for, this fiscal year coming up. But yeah, if you funded everything I have, I plan to move forward with everything to the extent I can.
Is there a list, you mentioned consultants, is there a list of all of our expenditures for engineering consultants, like over the past year or like over the past 3 years, that the council could look at as we see like how much we're spending on engineering consultants?
We could provide that, yes. We generally do everything we can in-house with the staff we have, and some of the staff we've added in recent years allows us to do more. Really depends on the size and scope of the project. We do have some big projects coming up, trail projects, lots of funded state multi-million-dollar projects. Those are really just going to be too big for staff to handle on top of the routine maintenance and the annual programs we're already managing every year. So yeah, so we can provide that information, but it varies depending on the year and the types of projects that we have going on.
Thank you, Councilor Forrest. Councilor Pentelo, then Councilor Wands. Councilor Weiner, you have your, okay, good. Councilor Pentelo.
Hey, Derek, thank you so much. I just have a question about the sidewalks. You talked about the sidewalks. It seems like in our town, you send somebody out to inspect the sidewalks, and you mark them. You have to advise them that we're changing them. You're doing these 1-piece, 2-piece, 5-piece. It just seems like it would cost way more money to do it that way. And then the people that can't afford it might have assistance, but if they can't afford it all, and they don't really qualify for that we put a lien on their property. So it seems like a lot. I don't know if we had this type of idea where we were gonna do Knott Street, and then you looked at all Knott Street, knowing what you had to do, and keep coming around. I think it'd be more efficient for you guys. Is that what I'm seeing, that when you gave us that memo, that's what you're looking for, right?
Yeah, I would agree.
I don't see how much more it would be if you had it scheduled. It seems like it'd be more efficient and less money. It'd probably be more money at the outset, but it'd be more efficient, correct?
Yeah, and it depends on what we do with physical services staff. They're very capable, and if we had more staff that could be dedicated to that type of thing,
right,
we could work with them, throughout the year and get that work done. Yeah, this is called like a spot repair program. Right. So as you said, it's very limited in different areas. Sometimes it's our contractor doing it, sometimes it's our staff, and other times and most of the time it's residents or property owners that are needing to coordinate. So what we do, the way we set up our contract with our on-call is that that contractor does provide the same unit cost to our residents that we pay. So we offer that. We would let them know when we issue a notice, we give them information that says, here are contractors that worked in town in the last 5 years. We don't recommend anybody, although we do let them know our contractor that's under contract will give you the same price the town pays, as a way to help incentivize them to use them, and also get, it's generally better cost than they may get elsewhere, but they can use whoever they like. But to your point, yes, as I mentioned, it would be much more efficient for us to plan neighborhoods, and make a lot easier. Like our new policy has been, when we pave a road, we try to go in there a year ahead of time and try and get the sidewalks fixed at the same time. So when we leave there, we have a nice new road and we have safe sidewalks. That can be hard if there's 20 or 25 different property owners we got to work with. And generally the process is, so you understand, we issue a notice initially, we go back after 45 days and check it. If it's not done, we issue a second notice, another 45 days, then we go back. If they still haven't done it, we issue a third notice, so you got 30 days, please do it. And sometimes we come back after that point, and so months have gone by at this point, and it may not be done. Generally, when we get to that point, it doesn't happen a lot, but when we do, I should notice saying we are in a position where we may have to have the work done and lien your property. Generally, at that point, people will do it, but you think about the amount of time and effort and all the notices and all the staff that has to be involved to get to that point. It's a lot of administration. That's
What I mean. It just seems like we're, okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilor Pentelow. Councilor Wands.
Thank you, Derek. I have two questions for you. First, I believe when we did the Capital Improvements Advisory Committee, you weren't there that evening, and I hope you're feeling better. But I want to ask, for the CIP requests and the rankings that are there, having not weighed in and being able to present it yourself, are you comfortable with the rankings there? Or are you concerned about any of the rankings, the way they fell, without having that voice in the room this year?
Yeah, I was going to speak to that. If there's any, are there any other questions on operating? Otherwise, because I will go through that. I was going to mention some of those that, to your point, if there were some of those that were more important in my mind.
I think we have a couple.
Sure.
Well, and that was my other question. I hear the mayor. I don't know where paving is. I'm trying to figure out where paving lies in the budget.
Well, and paving is an area I want to explore, but I know Councilor Weiner, Councilor Dirk also, so Councilor Weiner.
Technology question. FAA license, how long is that good for the pilots, do you know?
I don't remember off the top of my head. I think it's a period of time, a few years maybe. So
Okay.
we have some staff that are taking classes on that now.
Got you. And when did we purchase the drone for?
I want to say it was maybe a year and a half ago.
And everything in technology, there's a planned obsolescence on everything. How long do we expect to have that unit for, and are we ever looking at replacing it?
I mean, at this point, it's still new to us. It's designed to be shared between the assessor's office and the engineering
Right.
department, so they have it available to them too if they want to check certain properties in between flights. But right now, we don't have a schedule or a plan for a replacement.
Okay. That's fair. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Weiner. Excuse me, Councilor Dirk.
Thank you, Mayor. Two questions, might be more for Mike O'Neill than you, but looking at the proposed budget, I see that the workers' comp and health benefits total about $254,000, and the total decrease of the budget is about $210,000, which leaves a difference of about $44,000. And I can't really seem to find where those increases are. What I'm seeing in front of me don't even come close to $44,000. It seems like most of the budget is kind of staying the same, but then we're seeing a bigger difference there.
You're asking about the workers' comp specifically?
No, so I'm seeing the workers' comp and health benefits coming off, which total about $254,000.
For the
167.
The health insurance.
gotta be. That's where it's gotta be.
I think he's looking at the binder, Mike, the second page of the engineering one, where it has the health benefits and workers' comp costs at the bottom of the page.
167.
So the second
The
page.
second page on the bottom shows what the health benefits and workers' comp is for this department.
Yeah, I mean, at least that's that one, so. 3 million, right? But where's the full request?
So I'm comparing that to the overall budget decrease, because these two numbers come to about $254,000, the total decrease about $210,000. So I'm trying to find where the $44,000 increase is in the other line items, because I'm not seeing that big of an increase.
Mickey, those are the new, I think those are the new rates for this year. I'm looking at, if I look at the other book on 167, it was $204,000 for health insurance last year and $24,000 for workers' comp. So it's about a 228, oh, 228 coming out, and we're at 210 under. So it's about 18,000 in new expenses is the way I look at it. And that largely looks like it was in salaries, wages, private duty charges, and support services.
So does that mean that the binder does not have the current numbers?
For Mike to.
The numbers in the book that you see in these tables are the numbers. I'm looking at that 230, and I'm not sure.
Mike, what page are you on? Mike, what page in the binder? Oh, the binder, not the booklet. Okay. I got the binder.
Second page of the binder.
I got the binder. I don't know if it's a booklet.
On the bottom of the notes.
Yep.
Second.
There I see it.
Engineering notes in the binder to page 167. You can see the difference there. Last year, health insurance was 204, it's 0 this year. That's the decrease.
So can we at some point get the updated binder numbers? Because once we start comparing, it's not going to be the real numbers at that point. Okay, thank you. And then, Greg, my question on the sidewalk. We have about 113 miles total, correct? And we average about 0.65, 0.64 per year, last 2 years. So that takes about 176 years to replace at this rate.
We had to replace it all. I don't think it all needs replacement, but yes.
So the reason I'm asking this is my third year asking if we can get the fourth option explored, which is that we hire mason and we offer residents to replace the sidewalks at the cheaper rates, just to kind of cover our expense. Maybe we can get more people to replace the sidewalks. Maybe we can do a lot more than that. This is the third time I'm asking, and I haven't seen that proposal yet.
Sally's going to be presenting that to you all. But that would be her team. She's already put together the team that she would need to do that, and that'll be part of her presentation on the 4th.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Councilor Dirk. Further council comments or questions? Gary can proceed. I know there's a lot of questions on paving, but go ahead. You're going to, I think we're done.
Continue?
Yeah, continue,
Okay.
please.
As far as requested positions, CNAF requests, I didn't have any for this year. Going to the back of the memo, for CIP requests, generally engineering is responsible for 3 categories. That's bike ped safety, which generally includes sidewalks, transportation infrastructure for roads, and drainage. So I had a number of requests for this coming year, just briefly to discuss what they are. Road pavement evaluations, we typically do that every 5 years to get a new ratings of all our roads to help us with our planning and our programming for that. It was last done in 2021, and we're due again this year in 2026. So that $40,000 request would accommodate that work, which would be done automated imagery with LiDAR data, driving around the roads. Second item, TAP, is Transportation Alternatives Program for Collier Road and Cumberland Avenue. The town was awarded about $1.7 million in state funds to do some sidewalk gap closures. With that program, there is a 20% match that the town has to provide. We are doing design in-house on that, so that comes off the match that we need to have in dollars. So we estimate we need about $200,000 in match funds. This $100,000 request is just the first phase of that. We don't expect to need it for maybe till next year or the year after, because we're working through the design and we have to get through construction. But that's what that $100,000 request was for. The third item, town dam inspections and emergency action plan. That's a DEP mandate. We had our dams, we have 9 public dams that the town owns. We had them last inspected in 2016. That's required every 10 years. So 2026, they're due. As well as we had just finished the Gulf Brook dam assessment study last year, which did re-look at some of our dams and reclassify some of them to a higher hazard class, which requires emergency action plans to be developed for each one of those. So the $75,000 request is to cover both the dam inspections due this year and to develop those plans for the 4 dams. Town school and parking lot improvements, $200,000. That really was intended for our ambulance facility. In talking with the town manager and the assistant town manager, that was something that we wanted to start putting money towards. I have discussed this over the years with CIAC and council to some extent about the parking lot improvements. We have a number of lots that do need repair. We haven't really put much money into them, so this is one of the requests to at least let us get, that is one of our worst lots that we have as far as the condition of it. So depending on what the plans are future for that facility, that's what that request is for. Lots at Main Street reconstruction, phases 1 and 2 design. That's part of we got about $8.1 million in lots of funding to design improvements along Main Street for full reconstruction and also installing a trail from the Keeney Center up to Cove Park. The $180,000 request is really for the trail portion of it. we expect that there will be additional costs to have a consultant come in and design everything related to the project. So this is just really a partial request. The remaining funds, we have some other state funds, LoCIP, which is Local Capital Improvement Program funds that we may be able to use to supplement it. So this request was partial to get at least the trail designed.
Derek, is that just for the design or is that part of the build?
That's just for the design. So with LoCIP, the town is responsible for design costs, and the program funds construction and inspection costs.
So if we were to fund that, when can we expect to see building?
So the design on that is we're ready to get out, we're really at a point where we need to get quotes from consultants. So we're looking to get that this summer. So depending on how quickly the design goes, I'm guessing that was probably likely a 2028 project to be realistic, because we're going to have to do a lot of public engagement and things of that nature down in that particular area, being the center of Old Wethersfield. I expect there'll be a lot of that. So that would be my guess.
And if we don't fund it, does it set the project back a year, or do you work on other things during that time period?
Yeah, so that's where, for me, if that doesn't get funded with capital funds, we have other funding sources, the LoCIP funds from the state that we've been accruing over a number of years we can use for that. So I would use those funds in lieu of this and keep the project moving forward.
Okay.
Next item, town dam repairs. That's another deep mandate from 2021. We had 4 dams that we needed to do some repairs on. We've done 2 of them last year down in Millwoods Park. We have 2 more to do. So that $100,000 will go towards design. We do have some money, I think $25,000 for consultant fees to do all the permitting and the design of it. But this would be to start putting some money away for the construction costs. Stone sidewalk repairs for $125,000. So that is specific to the area in front of the Solomon Wells House, Cove Park, down there. We have a lot of old stone slate sidewalks that are very broken and very dangerous. That price there would be to replace the damaged slate with slate stones again, which is extremely expensive. You may be aware, town crews recently, last year, had done some repair areas with concrete that was textured and colored to try and match the stone, which I thought came out very well. They did a great job on it. If we were to go that route and we were to hire a contractor to do it, that $125,000 would drop to about $45,000. It's something that I would like some direction from council on how they would like to proceed. If we are going to go, because that's one area where we have it in front of town properties, we're responsible. We do have it in other areas of Wethersfield that also need repair. So depending how council wants to proceed, I know physical services staff generally clears sidewalks along the front of town properties with equipment like Jeeps and such. So, replacing it with stone and slate is likely just to get broken again if we continue, that practice for maintenance. So, that's something to consider. I don't know if you had a chance to see how it came out, but they are able, whether we do it in-house or we have a contractor do it, to, I think, pretty well match what's out there for stone, and it would be concrete. So we wouldn't replace everything. This would just be going to those stone slabs that are cracked, broken, safety hazards, remove them, and patch in concrete to kind of blend into the rest of the stone that would remain.
And I should say that the CIP request, they ranked it at level 1, but that was at the $45,000 concrete stamped, not at the $125,000 slate recommendation from CIP, Capital Improvements Advisory Committee.
And I'm just going to add to that. So those of you who may not be aware, on page 245 is the list of Capital Improvement Advisory Committee rankings. And you'll see the total on the bottom right of 2.9 million. That's the identified project amount. In the actual budget is 750,000 total. Now we can add or subtract from that 750, but the budget has 750. You can see on that page, 245, councilors, tier 1, 2, and 3 based on what the Capital Improvements Committee recommended, what are the most important, obviously tier 1 being their recommendations. But the current town manager's budget has a number of 750. We can go up or down from that. 750 is what we did last year, and typically many councils for several years did 1 million in capital improvements for many, many years before that. Just wanted to give some of that context, and then we can open up. Derek, did you have anything else before we?
I was just going to mention, there were 3 more at the lower tier,
please.
as came out of committee. Just for Copper Mill Road culvert, that is really putting towards town share for the state local bridge program funding that we want to apply for. Guide rail improvements, we had discussed a little bit earlier, as there's a significant need to do that, so that's a request towards that. Elm Street access reconstruction is really just an access safety issue. We get a lot of complaints. We have reached out to DOT. They will be rehabbing the bridge that goes over Elm Street, and we have asked them to just do this work as part of that project because they're going to be working right there. We haven't gotten a response yet, but I am pursuing that. Just to get back to Councilor Wan's earlier question, for the 3 categories that I have, stone sidewalk repairs would be my #1 request for sidewalks, bike ped safety, because we have had that request last couple of years, and we haven't really been able to do much other than a few sample areas that physical services had repaired down there. For drainage category, the town dam inspections and emergency action plans, the 3rd one down would be my priority, because we are really mandated to do the inspections this year. That's about half of that, maybe $40,000 out of that $75,000 cost, as well as prepare the emergency action plans for the newly rated dam classifications. And then for roadway improvements, my #1 request was the first one, road pavement evaluations. If that doesn't get funded with capital funds, I expect I would come seeking approval just to use our road maintenance account for that, which we have done in the past. So therefore, my #2 request was the guide rail improvements for $75,000. I mean, really, I don't have a lot of other options to go get money for that type of repair, so that's why I would make that my #1. So those would be my top 3 out of this grouping that you see here.
Thank you, Derek. Appreciate that. I'm now going to open it up to the council. See Councilor Forrest, hand first. Councilor Forrest.
Town and school parking lot, I'm on page 247 of the budget. It's $1 million. Remember you talked about like you're going to go to a few, or do you have a list? Like if we were to fund it, what would we do?
We do have a list. This particular ambulance facility is the lowest rated parking lot condition, which is why we would recommend going to that first. But we can provide the list. It was a report that we had done last time we did the pavement evaluations in 2021, 2022 for the roads. We also had the parking lots evaluated because it had been about 15 years at that point. And we do have a list of capital needs for all of those. Some involve full reconstruction like this. Some are more minor type of repairs. So it really depends on the condition that they found when they evaluated them.
On 247, it looks like it's $1 million request to take care of our parking lots. Is that still true and accurate? If the council were to fund this, we would be able to take care of our parking lots?
I don't have page 247. I believe the parking lot report we had, it was about 1.8 million to 2 million for everything. So I'd have to see what that refers to, but I can get back to you on that.
If we could get a list for that line item. And then I guess the follow-up question is, currently it's at $1 million here, and what's the is there a discrepancy? And if so, what's it made up?
I think what's shown here is a 5-year outlook.
Yeah.
And I think Derek's talking about further out. So a 10-year. So we have to do a 10-year CIP, but what's provided here is a 5-year lookout for the CIP project.
So in theory, there's like another side to this table.
Correct.
And so then it does beg the question, is there another side to this table in some of them and not others? So is there a full table that can be provided? So like guide rail improvements goes out to 2031, but is it really more than 350,000? I see other ones that go past 20. There's not too many though. Multi-use field initial funding, section 800 maybe, but. So if the council is going to get a full understanding about what the needs of the town are, we probably need to see those out years.
Staff does 10-year projections on all our categories. I think generally in the budget book it's reported in 5-year increments. So yeah, I mean, I have that for my information, for my projects I can provide.
Yeah, in practice, if you go out further than 5 years, you're really, the numbers become less and less reliable. It's really the 5 years that, from a budgeting standpoint, that's going to get you the most value. But we can provide you with the 10-year because we do that exercise, and we can certainly do that.
I guess the balance is let's say we made up 5 parking lots that absolutely need reconstruction today. Like we know they need reconstruction today. I'm making this up, right? And that number is 1.8 million. We may have smoothed out that line over 8, 9, or 10 years. But we know right now that those 5 parking lots need it. So we have to, it would be good to understand, not just necessarily like, hey, we're budgeting for a parking lot that might fail in 8 years, and that's why there's that 8-year line, or versus, no, we have the parking lots that have failed, we're using parking lots right now. And we know how much it is, but we merely used that budgeting algorithm over that period of time. So I'd like to be able to know the difference between the two and also get the full scope of what the needs of the town are.
Yeah, I mean, generally, when we put together our 10-year plans, it's based on current dollars, extrapolated out over the years, not necessarily inflated for future years. So with parking lots, there's 2 things at play. One, inflation will change, so that would drive up cost, as well as road, parking lots that may need minor repairs now in 8 years may need full reconstruction at a much higher cost. So, I mean, we can provide the data that we have available right now is in current years.
Okay.
But we can get that to
We're
you.
having a conversation. If you could please provide the information on that one, and if there are others in 247, 248, et cetera, that have out years, so we can understand what the full viability, for lack of a better term, is for the town, that would be helpful.
Yeah, some projects extend beyond 5, others do not. Depends on the type of work that's needed.
Okay, thanks.
All set?
Yep.
Thank you, Councilor Forrest. Further council questions or Councilor Penelo?
The stamped concrete, the stone sidewalk repairs, you have 125,000. How much would, if you got the whole 125 and you did stamped concrete, would that correct the problem down for Solomon Wells, for that area? Because it does look, it looks great, but then when it's bad, it looks bad, and it's probably pretty unsafe. So I'm just wondering how much, if we gave you the full 125, we decided to go to stamped concrete, what would we get? Would it repair everything?
It would allow us to repair all the walks along the Solomon Wells House property frontage. I don't have a full inventory of everywhere we have it. One of the complicating factors with that is there are a lot of private residents that have this same problem with broken stone, so there would have to be a policy on how we handle that, because that is not our standard. The cost for the stamped color concrete is more than regular sidewalk. So, how do we want to handle that with properties that have that type in front of it? So if you gave me the full 125, I don't really have a good inventory of what we need everywhere. We started with this one location because it was so bad, and we have a lot of pedestrian traffic down there. But we'd have to inventory a little bit more. So if you gave me the full 25, I don't know how much of all our stone sidewalks is really town responsibility and how much would be private. So it's hard to answer that right now. But I certainly think beyond the 45 I know we would need for that particular property, there's more needs than that. So if you gave me a little bit more than that, I think there are probably other areas where the town is responsible and can do it, or it could be used to supplement maybe what the property owner has to pay for. So maybe, for instance, they got to replace 2 slabs. They could do it in stamped color concrete. Maybe they pay for the cost of a standard sidewalk and we pay for the upcharge or something to that effect. So the money could be used a variety of ways depending on how council wants to proceed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Pentelow. Deputy Mayor Rhodes.
Just a quick follow-up on that one. With the areas down on Main Street where there's the stone, would those property owners be able to replace those with just regular concrete? Because that's what is abutting those stones up and down those sidewalks. It's such a weird spot, right, where there's the concrete and then all of a sudden there's a row of the stones and then it's back to just the regular concrete. Would they have to do the upgraded, or would they be able to replace with just the regular concrete? Is that a...
Well, that's kind of a council decision. This really came up a number of years ago when we were reconstructing an intersection down Old Wethersfield. We had a couple broken stones adjacent to some new concrete sidewalk we were replacing. We wanted to extend the concrete sidewalk, and there was a lot of outcry from the public that they didn't want us replacing broken slate stones with concrete, and that's when this first came up. Historically, if you walk areas where we have slate stones, you'll see pieces of concrete, because that's what the town did for a lot of years, is just put regular concrete in. So I think there was some interest in the public to have a better way of repairing it, whether that be with the textured colored concrete as an option or replacing it in full stone. So, I mean, as far as safety, if the safety is concerned, yeah, a concrete sidewalk would be fine. It's just a matter of, public opinion and where the council, falls on that.
More of a style question.
I think some of the history associated with those stones, my understanding is, some of those were set by prisoners supposedly from years ago, hundreds of years ago, and, you know, there's history associated with everything in Old Wethersfield, so it's really, how do we want it to look aesthetically, but we have to maintain safety, and that's something where we need to figure this out. Right.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Rhodes. Further, Councilor Wons, did you want to talk about the paving? Because it's on my list to talk about.
Yeah, I don't even know where to find it, is my where do I find paving?
Paving.
249.
Go home.
49.
Excuse me, 250.
Go home.
Did you want to comment on it? Because I have a question on paving too, but do you want just, okay. So Councilor Wons,
250.
First.
All right, so I saw, so that's not revenue, that's also the expenditures that with the 2.4 that's proposed, that would all go towards new paving projects?
Oh, the 2.4 for our road maintenance account?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a combination of physical services get some of that money, so when they do repairs or they do curb repairs, anything related to the roads, sometimes catch basin tops, they have money that comes out of that as well. We also do our pavement preservation program out of that, so usually that's about 150 to 200,000 a year for fog seal, crack seal, and then the balance of that is primarily paving programs. So we generally spend probably around $2 million a year on our paving, and the rest is some of those other things I mentioned.
Councilor Wons, did you have anything on that? Because
I guess my last question would be, I know we're at a deficit and you've been working towards making up the deficit and you're doing the fog sealing and the crack sealing to try to make our roads last longer. If you're doing $2 million this year, is there a number that would get you to a place where you feel like the line is going in the direction you want better? Is another $500,000? What's the right number to get you on the line where you want it to be?
So generally, we get that information every 5 years when we have a consultant evaluate our roads, and they give us some of you may have seen it in the past, they give us graphs, usually say, if you spend this much a year, your PCI, which is your pavement condition indices for the town, we're at about a 74 out of 100 townwide, which is not bad. They'll tell us, if you spend this much, it's going to stay the same. If you spend a couple $300,000 more, you can get up to this number over a certain amount of time. So I'll have better information on that, this coming year. I mean, generally, I think talking to a lot of other towns, we are putting a good amount of money towards it. And I think some of that is helping close the gap on the deficit. That doesn't stop me from getting a lot of complaints from people. I mean, certainly, it's harder because I understand there are a lot of needs. We try to spread it around, and as I've mentioned before, and I talked with council, the CIAC about, is we can't just spend all our money on the worst roads and let our roads that are in good condition get to be bad condition, because then those costs go up. So we try to spread it around between maintenance and repairing those worst roads. So I think we're in a pretty good place right now, but I'll have better information on that this year.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, Councilor Wons. If there's no other, I just want to follow up on the paving for a second, and then we'll probably can go on to the next presenter. So, of all the things we get feedback, first of all, great job, Derek, and engineering department, appreciate all you do, and a lot of projects getting done that are helping moving the town forward. Thank you. On paving specifically, we get a lot of feedback. I get a lot of feedback all the time, a lot during election season as we go door to door, but all just in general on roads. I mean, this is the type of thing that people like to talk about, their roads. And you just kind of commented that we're probably ahead of where our neighboring towns are. But the pavement schedule, I think we have a schedule that maybe you can comment, it goes out how many years, and is there like an A list, a B list, and a C list? Because this is one of the most frequent questions I get in town, and one of the areas I get the most feedback on is the roads and our pavement plan. So if you can comment on that. We talked a little about the budget, usually $2 million a year. Maybe some comments on the paving program.
Yeah, I mean, generally every winter we prepare a 3-year plan going forward. Primarily, it was for planning purposes, but it's also really to notify utilities of where we want to pave. First year is pretty much set. That's what we're going to do. The out years are always very tentative because it changes. But the idea is, we try to coordinate with the utility companies at least 3 years ahead, so they can let us know if they need to get in there and dig for gas mains, water mains, underground conduits that we always tell them, let us know. I'm happy to take a road off and delay it rather than have you come in and cut the road right after we do it. So when we do those programs, we take a variety of things into consideration. You know, that's one option, and one thing we consider is utility work that might be coming up, and that's why we do a 3-year plan. But some of the other things that go into that are what are the PCI ratings that I talked about, what are the traffic volumes, you know, where else we're doing, because we don't want to do one road over here and one road. We pay money every time we got to move all that equipment one side of town to the other, so we try to generally work in neighborhoods, work through neighborhoods. So there's a variety of things that go into it. You know, we do have a 3-year plan. I mean, generally that is available really for reference in the utilities. I do get calls as you do, or you forward them to me. And I try to let people know. I mean, when we do have these roads evaluated like we're doing this year, it's very helpful for me to be able to see, like I can rank them and say the lowest PCI, the worst roads to the best. And that helps me respond to people who may say their road has not been paved in 40 years, and they're probably right, and it's in probably very bad shape. But let them understand that there may be dozens of other roads that actually rated worse than them that we are trying to get to everybody.
So that's very helpful, because that type of comment comes off, and we haven't our road paved in 20, 30 years. I saw XYZ road paved. I think our road is in worse condition, but it's based on evaluations. And are you able to tell them, and I get asked this, is our road scheduled the next 2 or 3 years? It's a common question we get as well. And is that something that the public is allowed to get information on?
Yeah, I mean, it's all public information. Generally, I encourage you to forward those to me, because I do look at the data that we have available and how we arrived at the roads we have. You know, often, and it's helpful when they are on the list, I at least say you're on the list and we're planning for it. Sometimes they're not, but we do, you know, take into consideration too, you know, roads deteriorate, they don't all deteriorate the same. So there are a variety of factors that go into it. But I tell my staff, I would encourage you, you know, just let me know when you get those questions and I can respond. You know, obviously they don't always like my responses, but I'm trying to be honest with them. I mean, it's a challenge. It's a challenge for all of us to try and, you know, accommodate the needs, and we know there is a need. We're working through it as quickly as we can, and I you know, like I said, I think the town has been good about securing more funds or allocating more funds to those types of repairs that we know are needed.
I think a year or two ago, we added to the paving
That's right.
budget.
And there were a number of years where it used to be, from my understanding, part of our CIP process. So there were years where it didn't get fully funded or didn't get funded at all, and that really makes it hard when you don't do anything for a few years. You really get behind. So we've been playing catch up for the 10 years I've been here, but I think we're making progress.
Very helpful. Thanks, Derek. If I don't see anything else, I'm going to move on to Deputy Mayor.
This is just a comment. Again, I want to thank you for how responsive you are to people. I know you're really busy, and anytime we have a message that we forward on to you, I just really appreciate how quickly you respond and how generously and kindly you respond with just accurate information. I think that helps a lot for people to just have an idea. So thank you.
Good comment. Thank you. Thank you again, Derek. Planning, I think, Dave, you're up next.
Yeah, that's all right. Kurt and I will come up there together. Our budgets are actually...
Yep, tag team and just,
Thanks,
we
Derek.
have some new people. Just kind of introduce yourselves as well. I'm sure you
We
will.
have it drawn out.
Can we do the longer?
Yeah, longer. I don't know what you're finding.
And after that, gentlemen, we have, and the lady, we have the police department next. And for counselors, that's it for tonight. After this, we then have the police, and that'll be our last one. So Dave and Kurt, you guys are up. And again, please introduce yourselves.
All right, it's nice to see you again this year. This is my second time before the council presenting my section of the department budget. So it's nice to be here. Thank you very much. I'm happy to report that my budget is rather small compared to some of the other budgets before you. However, I don't expect that that's going to mean that you don't have some detailed questions on my budget. Just a quick overview, not to restate what's already in the budget, but the primary function of what I do in the Office of Economic and Community Development is compliance with the state statutes. Some of you, or most of you are aware, some of you more so than others, that the processes that Wethersfield has are required by state statute. Wethersfield has elected to have a rather, I would say, administratively what's appeared or perceived to be cumbersome process for a lot of its applications. What I tell people is that it does seem that way, but with that also comes great flexibility, which I think has benefited Wethersfield. Wethersfield is clearly
a long-standing developed community, and sometimes a one-size-fits-all regulation doesn't work. So part of the reason that so many applications do go before the commissions is because only through those commissions and the public hearings can the commission use discretion when they approve permits. So that's one of the reasons that Fred hears me, Erica hears me talk a lot about the need for administrative support, because with those applications comes a lot of risk in terms of procedural errors. Every application that goes before the commission that requires a public hearing or notice in the paper, if any one of those notices are incorrect, if any one of the abutters lists fail to include an abutter who maybe recently sold or bought a property, just based on the procedural error, the application could be appealed and win on an appeal just for the procedural error. And that includes being appealed by someone who might be aggrieved or being appealed by the applicant. So I just mentioned that to say, Wethersfield has a very engaged community. We have a number of supportive advisory committees, which is great. The Planning and Zoning Commission meets twice a month. Sometimes it does feel like twice a week, to be honest with you. They are supported with a very capable design review advisory committee. I know that they don't probably receive a lot of attention, but they're a really fantastic committee. They have a lot of experts. We have architects and some very qualified, skilled design professionals on that committee. They also meet every 10 days before the Planning and Zoning Commission meets, and currently the Planning and Zoning Commission has an advisory committee for the bicycle and pedestrian. They're called the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee, who was given a charge several years ago to develop a complete streets policy, which is done, and they're actively working on their second deliverable, which is the Municipal Bicycle and Pedestrian Plan. In addition to that, the zoning enforcement officer and the zoning board of appeals also falls under my office, and the zoning enforcement officer in town reviews and approves every single building permit that comes through the building office. I don't know if everyone knows that, but that one zoning enforcement officer has also formerly been the only code enforcement officer up until last year. Thank you very much for giving me a part-time planning and zoning assistant. We definitely, the town has needed that, especially with the introduction of C-Click Fix. So I want to thank you very much for that. And we are continuing to make good progress on our property and code enforcement because of that additional support. So I'll stop with my introduction there. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Kurt Lang, and I serve as the Economic Development Coordinator for the town. Some of you I haven't met yet, and good evening, and thank you for your time. In a very brief way, I'd like to just go over a couple of lines in the budget that have some significant changes compared to the previous year, and then make some clarifications on the capital non-reoccurring, which funds the grant and loan programs that we offer to small businesses in town. The two lines that you'll see changes in that are significant are the travel and training for $6,000, and the purpose of that is for me to be able to go and do training that's more of a deep dive into the financing of economic development deals that I think will be very beneficial to the town to bring back that knowledge. And an increase in the redevelopment agency's funding for properties, which is appraisal and other. It could be environmental, it could be appraisal, it could be survey work. The RDA has a couple of very large and significant projects that are coming forth, and having some additional funds available for those studies at hand is really essential, and to be able to be timely with them. The handout that I gave you shows the different programs that we run. Now, in your hard copy budget book, and Mike, correct me if I'm saying this wrong, there is not a line for capital reoccurring for the economic development programs. However, that line is in your worksheet, your Excel worksheet of the same name. Is that accurate?
Yes, that's on page 249, the CNEF request.
Yeah.
You will not see the economic development programs there. That's on my part. You get a working model for your deliberations, where to put those in, and kind of check off what you want to include, what you want to exclude, and you can pull those up and be included there. But it should be part of your CNEF considerations.
Thank you. So the department request, just to be clear, was for 2 of the business development and expansion grants, which are grants of up to $200,000 matching funds to a business doing an expansion or coming into town. 2 of the small business loan programs, which will go up to $300,000, $75,000 of which is forgiven after a 5-year period of time, and 5 facade program loans for a total of $1.25 million. We have people that are in the hopper, businesses that are in the hopper right now that will wipe out the funding that we have in place. And without additional funding, we won't be able to provide the programs for next year. So I just leave that for your consideration because they're very attractive programs and they are absolutely desired by the businesses that have come in and the developers that have come in with some pretty interesting projects for the town. And I'd hate to have to close the door on someone that's looking for them.
Bert and Dave, are you guys all set?
Yes.
Thank you both. So now I'm going to open it up to council for questions and comments. Councilor Dirk, sorry, you're in first.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm first going to start with a comment. I'm a liaison to Economic Development Commission. I missed a few meetings, but I want to just say that it's a great group of people, very diverse, very knowledgeable group, and I think you guys do an amazing job. The question is just on the grants and loans. I think last year, year before, there was a request to approve a certain amount of money that goes into the pool, and you guys decide where that money should go. Is that still the case, or are we just going to approve based on certain programs that you have?
I'll leave that to the town manager and Mike.
Yeah, so I think the idea would be similar to last year. We put it into this pool for incentive programs, and then based upon the applications, we're able to be flexible with what we can do with that based upon that. But these are the 3 programs that we have currently. They have been very successful. We've actually helped some pretty major projects move forward that without this probably wouldn't have. And I think now in the current economic times, they're even more important because banks are a lot less likely to be providing some of these loans on some of these projects. So it really kind of fills a gap for us. But, you know, this was started with ARPA funds. The council provided an additional 250. I think there was $1.5 million the first year, and then additional 250 last year that was provided. And like Kurt stated, that's all going to be pretty much gone with the current applicants we have in the hopper. We met today with another likely applicant that's going to be coming in the next few months with a really great project, but they need funding to help make the numbers work. So that's for your information, and we can talk offline about some of the specifics of that.
Thank you. I definitely agree with all the work is being done, just making sure that the money is still going into the same pool and then it goes where it's needed most at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Dirk. Further, Councilor Wands, and then Councilor Pentelow. Councilor Wands.
I'm not sure if this is for you, Kurt, or you, Mike, or you, Fred, but for, again, going to the grant and loan budget there, I know it didn't make the CNEF budget, but is the $1.25 million request here, is that reflected in the total town budget and the percent increase that you presented, or is there a different number, or is it not included?
It is not included yet.
Okay, so if we fund any money into this program, it will add to the budget that was presented to us?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Well, unless you were to use some of the CNEF funds.
Okay.
In its place.
Hold on.
There is money in the budget for CNEF items.
Yes.
Okay, so if we chose to, understood, yep.
Page 249.
Yep.
There's a list for 6.2 million, plus Kurt's 500,000, say, for economic development. In the budget, you see in the second paragraph above the table, you have $732,000 in the budget.
Yep.
So you can pick, mix and match up to 732 without changing the proposed budget.
Thank you. My second question is, and I know there's an additional 2,500, I think it is, put into the budget for the Tourism Commission. Is that sufficient for the 250th planning that we have for this year, or is that, would you recommend more money for 250th planning work?
We could always use more. The Tourism Commission chairperson, I know, has been after the mayor for a specific line item. We didn't put that in. It was, the discussion was after the budget was presented, but we certainly could use it.
Thank you, Kurt, thank you, David.
Thank you, Counselor Wands. Counselor Penelo.
How are you, brother? I was part of the RDA when we started, when Fred first came to town, and that matching business loans, small business, I went out to dinner with a restaurant guy, and we brought Doro Market here with that. So it brings us, it seems like a lot of money, but it brings us quite a bit of business to our town, which is really important to get, as we know, the taxes and all that stuff. But I love the program. I think that's as Councilor Durek said, it's a tough time in our town. And we have to try to find some cuts. But that program there is so important to growth of our town. I just wanted to say that off the bat. And I'm looking at some of your budget, and I just like professional services seem to be it just seemed to go up pretty high. I was just wondering what professional services are. 52220?
Yeah, so that increases in the planning budget. So last year we had, I'd asked for some amount of money. I had asked for, I think, $50,000, and graciously I was given $10,000, which was spent in one project. And the idea was that there are times when the Planning and Zoning Commission or the town needs some sort of technical assistance from planning. My original thought was we might need to assess the value of investing in one type of, a certain type of design, or frequently, the commission is asked to consider, electric vehicle charging, or they're asked to consider bicycle and pedestrian amenities, or they're asked to consider something that's maybe non-conventional. And there's a question as to why would we do this? What's the value of it? That's just one example. Another example could be sometimes the town ends up with property through an auction, and there's a question as to what type of use, what's the highest and best use of this property, and there was no funding available that I could quickly use for those types of activities. I would have had to go out and go through the procurement process to get one, and sometimes we just don't have that much time. So I had asked for a $10,000 professional services last year. I got it. Thank you very much. We spent it right away. The hourly cost of services now is somewhere between $158 and $200 an hour, so it went very quickly. So this year I asked for an increase, actually asked for an increase of up to $80,000, and it's showing the budget as a $20,000 total, so an increase of 10.
So there's no line item that you tell me that I'm going to spend it on A, B, or C. You're just saying if you need it, it's there?
Correct.
Okay.
I do have needs, though. I could easily spend $80,000 or twice that to be, yeah.
Thank you.
All set? Thank you, Council Penelo. Further council comments or questions? Council Forrest.
Thanks. Just going to start with code enforcement. We have the new part-timer, right? Is there, first question, are you in a code enforcement stance being reactive, right, to the complaints that come in, or so on and so forth, or are you being proactive with the current staff? Or both? You're probably being reactive, because that's probably the first thing, but
yes.
Are you able to be proactive?
Not as much as we'd like, for sure, absolutely. It's just the volume of, I would say, the priorities of the position that we've had is to make sure that we continue to process all of the applications for residents and businesses who need to do work. So if someone comes in for an addition, or a business is doing work, we make sure that those permits get approved to keep those moving. And then we respond to all of the complaints that come in based on sort of a triage. Is there a danger to life and safety? Is this a property code enforcement? and we sort of look to see what those are. But certainly the complaints that come in are at a much higher volume than those that we can inspect and properly document and record on a daily basis that come in. But there are a few what I would call more egregious properties that we are proactive on so that they don't get to a point where there is a life and safety hazard.
Yep.
But not as much as I'd like.
So with that said, it sounds like additional support in your department for those purposes could be used to keep up with, and you're not even being proactive. You're in triage situation, it sounds like.
That is correct.
Yeah.
You know, I think Wethersfield is, Wethersfield benefits from having some very, you know, the Planning and Zoning Commission in Wethersfield has some statewide known experts in land use planning, and the zoning regulations are fantastic. The processes established are great. I do think that enforcement, all property enforcement, could be improved, but it is, just like the process for planning and zoning, administratively heavy. So every complaint has to be inspected, documented, then it has to be returned, and there needs to be, there is a new process that was adopted in March of 2024, code enforcement. Many towns did it, where it put together all of the municipal ordinances into one process, and that's a well-established process. It would be beneficial if we could just sort of go really hard at that for a couple of years, nail down a process, and I think it would create a lot of efficiencies if we dedicated some resources to it in the near term.
So what would it take for us to take the next step? Would it be another part-time person? Would it be moving the part-time person that we put in last year to a full-time? What would be your next step in that process for the townspeople of Wethersfield?
I think that we're moving in the right direction. There was a retirement in my office, and so the young woman who was hired in that part-time position was well overqualified, and she was able to apply and did receive the full-time position, which is much more of, it's not an assistant town planner in terms of classification, but it's close to that. That person is helping the full-time zoning enforcement officer with all of the administration and the documentation. And we currently have in the budget a part-time zoning official, which we just interviewed people this week, and hopefully we'll make an offer if everything goes soon. So we have received the resources that I think we need, and I was happy to see that there was a part-time position that was in the Assessor's department that is being put in my office, and I hope to make that position, even though it's part-time. I did ask for a full-time land use person just for clerical needs. That's really the important part, to make sure that any code enforcement is properly documented and recorded. So the process happens, if you don't already know, the record is what the record is what you need to go and get a judgment in the town's favor.
I got it. So we're looking at staffing, all right?
Yeah.
So right now, it sounds like we're not able to keep up, and we're not being proactive with this. So with the current staffing levels, so what's the next level of staffing that the council should take in order to be doing the job that we need to do for the townspeople of Wethersfield? Is it another part-time person?
I think that there needs to be 2 staff people, and I'm open to ideas on creativity. There needs to be a full-time clerk just doing clerical follow-through, documentation, certified letters, following through with a timeline on notices. Things have to be sent every 10 days, received, and then also boots on the ground, if you will, to go out, document, take pictures. But I would say the town manager's office and the council has made good steps. I think right now I have 2 part-time people. If I could have 2 full-time people, I think that would be even better. But we've made it work, and I think we'll continue to make whatever work that we get. But I think 2 full-time people, 1 boots on the ground and a second just do administration. That second person for administration could also help with all of the commission clerical responsibilities as well.
Okay. So do you have the numbers for that person that your next step is?
In terms of a fully loaded rate?
Like, we're not getting out to all the enforcement, so what does the council need to do that? That's what we're here for.
1 full-time equivalent clerical position and 1 full-time equivalent land use official. The challenge is that Wethersfield is not the only one. There are only 113 certified land use officials in the state, and there's 169 municipalities, and many of them right now are trying to hire that zoning official. But
Okay, I'm talking about code enforcement, though, it sounds like.
it is one and the same now, largely. Or there are other options. In some municipalities, the blight officer, who just handles the code enforcement, is located in the building department. The blight ordinances are actually a function of the building department. Many municipalities have shifted that to a generalized code enforcement officer because, like Wethersfield did in 2024, all of the municipal code enforcement is sort of streamlined into this one process. But there's flexibility there.
Can that same person handle multiple tasks that you just described?
Yes, and that same person could also handle any historic district commission violations as well.
Okay. And do you have that presentation for that position, or does Mike have the numbers that where we would put that in our budget?
I could have them by the end of the day tomorrow.
That'd be great.
We don't have that, we can prepare that, so we can get it for you,
Get it for
but
you.
just for a really rough estimate, we need.
I don't need a rough estimate. It's okay. Like what the numbers will be, what the numbers will be. If we could present that, if you could present the council with that particular, where that person would go. I don't mean like in what department, but like what line item in the budget, what that person would be named, the flexibility that the group needs in order to have success in that area. Is that, you could do that, that would be helpful.
I'd be happy to. Thank you.
The economic incentive program, Kurt, what number was supposed to go in here?
So the requested number was 1.25.
The total number was 1.25?
Yes.
Okay. And is there so part of what Wethersfield needs, obviously, is to increase the value of the square foot of the land that we have, because we're not land rich. We're sort of land poor in a way. So is there a part of your department that goes out and, for lack of a better term, hustles, right? Goes to New York, goes to Boston, goes to wherever, and to bring in companies into Wethersfield in order to build their regional headquarters, their service centers, their headquarters, et cetera, et cetera?
So I've been on for just over 6 months, so I'm still getting my feet wet a little bit. But I plan on going to a couple of large-scale functions that they have. One's in New York and one's in Ohio.
Yeah.
Over the course of the next year, and that would be in the training and travel budget line item, in order to actually get face time with different companies that would really not otherwise know what Wethersfield has to offer, and we'll be able to promote it.
So that's what that line item is for, is to allow you to get in front of those companies to bring them here.
That and training.
Okay. Next, we're Mickey, Attorney Dirk. I almost called you Attorney Dirk.
She's not here.
Maybe that's, yeah, she's not here. I know, right? That's counselor. So do you have a list of the successes that you've had with this particular program over the last year or two? I don't need to know what's in the hopper, because that obviously might be it's a little sensitive, right? But the ones where, hey, this works, we built this. This works, we built that. This works, this company came. Do you have that list for us?
I don't, because it was from the previous economic development director, but I can go through the files and create one, certainly, for you.
That would be,
We
I think,
definitely have it.
that would be good for understanding when we look at this, over $1 million request.
We can get that.
Great, thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilor First. Further council questions or comments? And I have a couple, but yes, Councilor Chacho.
Just a quick question, so I understand that in this budget, proposed budget, you have what Councilor Forrest was saying, additional code officer. Is that what I'm looking at? Is that? Because in the budget 25-26 is 0, and then there's proposed, there's some money, is that?
No, in this budget, the only new position for our office for planning and zoning is the part-time technical assistant that's transferred from the assessors, which will be very helpful for just a clerical perspective.
And you're kind of suggesting you're requesting an additional?
Well, last year's budget also provided me with a part-time zoning official, part-time and zoning code official. That position has been vacant but we just had a number of successful interviews last week. So this year, starting July 1, hopefully, if these 2 positions get filled, I will have 2 part-time positions, which one of them will be fully dedicated to zoning and code enforcement, and the other one will be helping with administrative matters.
And that has been budgeted.
One of those 2 has been budgeted. The
one
second
last
one is the part-time.
And just, I apologize.
Sure.
Help me understand, what's RDA in that large jump? Can you just explain that to me?
That's the redevelopment agency.
Yeah.
And the jump is so that you'd be able to go out and do land use evaluations. So for example, if you had to do environmental evaluations on a property, you would wipe out that money really quickly. And right now, there's nowhere to tap to be able to do such studies. And we have at least 1, if not 2 projects that might need that in the coming year. So it helps to seed the redevelopment agency, to do such work.
You see doubling it that much?
Just because one environmental phase 2 could cost up to $100,000 on a large property. So yeah, in order to be prepared for something like that, you really do need to seed it. After a couple of years of seeding it, you'd be in a better situation. But right now, there's nowhere to go.
Thank you.
Let me just jump.
Thank you, Councilor Chacho. Councilor Penelo.
I'll just jump on it. Most of those redevelopment, aren't they state funded, like the brownfield funds or the, when you're talking about going out as an RDA, don't most of it come from the state?
Some. It depends on the project, really. I think everything is project specific.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Further council comments or questions? Just 2 quick areas, and they've been talked about, but I want to just add to them a little bit and pursue them a little more. So we added a part-time zoning person. We talked about when Derek was here, some of the feedback we get on roads, and that's a frequent area of feedback that we get from residents. This is another one. So we get a lot of feedback on, I'll call it blight, for both residential and commercial. And I know with Councilor Forrest's comments or questioning that
I might have suggested.
questions that, and obviously, and I think in every department we could use more people to get more work done. But I want to delve into that 1/2 a person that you're going to have, hopefully soon. That person will be dedicated to doing more zoning enforcement. Is that correct?
The position that the office was given last year is 100% zoning and code enforcement. This position, go ahead.
Yeah, no, the first one. The one that we hired last year, or that we, budgeted last year.
Yes, that is a dedicated zoning, and it's an assistant zoning official, if you will.
Okay, and we're getting that person on board.
Correct.
So that has been a priority of the council, and we funded that last year, and hopefully that will help at least somewhat with some of these blight.
It already has, absolutely, yes.
Okay. The second area is Kurt, with the loan program. So the town manager mentioned it. We had a meeting today of a significant opportunity with a new business, significant development. And it was clear to me that they probably would not go forward without some type of town assistance. That kind of thing happens and will probably happen more because construction costs, financing costs are so much higher. We have certainly used these programs. Councilor Pentelow mentioned Doro, but many, many others. Also, the facade improvement program falls under here. My question to you, Kurt, is in terms of state funding, and I know we've had some conversations, but it's good for the council to know, are there opportunities for us to supplement? Last year, it was a similar ask, $1,250,000. The council cut that back $1 million to $250,000. I know the request is $1,250,000 again. So the question is around state funding for some of these projects, your experience and our ability to go after some of these.
So there are programs that are available. You don't have the control that you do with a local incentive program, and to be able to show, for lack of better words, that Wethersfield is really open for business compared to the towns around us. There are other programs available through the state. There are loan programs, there are grant programs, but local economic development and incentive programs have really been a driver for towns and cities because everyone's available. Everyone can get the state ones, but the localities only have certain incentives, and Wethersfield has a lucrative program.
So, councilors, this is a good point, and Council Pennell already mentioned Doral Market, but many other well-known businesses you would know, Heirloom Market, many on Main Street, the Creamery, have taken advantage of these programs. And based on the programs that are in the hopper now, we're about to zero out. So, point is, we have so many needs, we can't fund them all. We'll be making those kinds of decisions. But for many attractive businesses, these programs are often the difference between coming to town or adding substantially their business. So appreciate the work you guys are doing. If no one has any other follow-ups, I'm going to move on to the police department, which is our last item tonight.
Mr. Mayor, if I just may offer
please.
one thing before I go. The original full-time position that I did consider and contemplate, I did speak with Derek, because you mentioned engineering, and that the vision was that would be a shared clerical position to help with the clerical needs of the planning and zoning activities, as well as Derek's office as well.
Perfect. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
Kurt, Dave, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Chief, Deputy Chief, your whole leadership staff. You guys have been here for a while. We appreciate your patience. Thank you for your patience.
Let's just take a half-hour break.
They won't mind.
You guys all go to Dunkin' together?
I don't know if you know this.
Council Penfield, there's coffee. There's coffee if anybody wants.
And creamer.
Are we talking about red light cameras tonight?
And
No. That's,
you don't have to. It's just presented there, grand style.
And Chief, welcome. And maybe we have a couple new counselors, and maybe good for everyone. Maybe if you might have been doing the same, and introduce your leadership people, your team here.
Yes. Where's Tanisha?
You want this down now?
Randy Traccio, thank you.
You signed it. Oh, that one.
This is copy and binding. This is below my budget up. It's making copies for you. So you asked why there's an increase in copy and binding. That's that right there.
That's all for you, Brian.
I'll answer that question right out the chute for you.
We can make all this digital and do one.
That's great to see.
How are you?
Chief,
How
you doing?
Thanks for your patience.
Yes, thank you for your patience.
No worries.
About 6 minutes. Chief, this is a
Thank you.
45-slide presentation here? Is that what we're looking at?
22. The point of this is to reduce your questions.
And why did you look at you?
Good luck, Chief.
Who was that directed to?
Who directed at me? It's all right.
Well, you look right at you. I know how he rolls. This is my 5th presentation, so.
Counselors, before the chief is getting, I'll just let you guys know, Newington had its budget meeting last night.
I like that, huh?
They got out at 1:19 in the morning. 1:19.
1:19.
Newington. They actually made their final decision on the budget, but 1:19, so.
No good decisions happen at 1:19.
Yeah.
I think I would have left
So-
at 10 o'clock.
Budget preparation at 119?
1:19. I heard they had got out at 1, and I asked the mayor, did you really get out at 1? He goes, no,
Unacceptable.
1:19. So,
Leave me in 8 minutes, you guys can
yeah,
stay.
so,
No, thank you.
we'll be out much before that.
Right. The purpose of doing
It
slideshows, you'll
was.
see my face.
That was-
That's a long day.
Yeah, still.
Like,
Chief, whenever you're ready. Thank you.
The hats are great. Well, actually, it's all good. Love it.
Right?
Oh, yeah, do. 100%.
Oh, yeah.
Here, Joe. Jane, go ahead.
I have those again.
Good evening, Town Manager Presley, Mayor Lesser, Deputy Mayor Rhodes, and members of the Town Council. My name is Rafael Medina III, and I have the honor of serving as the Chief of Police for the Wethersfield Police Department. I am joined this evening with Deputy Chief Gustavo Rodriguez to my right, Lieutenant James Bouillac, Rich Holton, Joseph Bache, and Budget Analyst Tanisha Murray, who's to my left. And Jacob Charsky, who's going to talk to you about extra vehicles tonight.
You were looking at it.
I know. I know. Yeah, so, and as you can see, as we keep reviewing these slides over and over, we find mistakes right at the beginning, because today is not April 20th, 2025. Wrong year, wrong date. So at the outset, I would like to express our sincere appreciation for your continued support for the Wethersfield Police Department, our mission, personnel, and our operations. This evening, we'll begin with a brief overview of our current fiscal year 25-26 adopted budget. We will then present our proposed fiscal year 26-27 budget, outlining the resources and initiatives necessary to ensure we continue delivering professional, effective, and community-focused law enforcement services to the residents of Wethersfield. And at the conclusion, I'll take any questions you might have. This current slide shows that the Wethersfield Police Department is budgeted for 65 full-time employees, and there are no requests for additional personnel for this budget year. We are fully staffed for the first time in 16 years. This slide right here is our organizational chart. That shows the placement of the 65 personnel within our department. If you flip to the last page of your handout I gave you, it's a larger one, so you can see it and not try to see it on this. I knew that would be a little bit of a problem.
Okay.
I need my glasses. I don't know about you, but I can't.
It's not small.
Still can't see.
Not much bigger.
Still tricky.
Still, yeah, well, a little bit better.
Make it bigger.
So this slide provides an overall snapshot of the department's operating budget as of March 1st, 2026. I believe you have a more updated version in your packet, but this is the one I have that I have in my presentation. Year to date, we expended approximately $6.5 million, or 49% of the total budget, leaving about 51% remaining. Personnel expenses make up the majority, with 48% utilized. Tracking appropriately at this point in the fiscal year, non-personnel expenses are at 55%, slightly higher due to the timing of purchases and operational needs, but still within our budget. Encumbrances remain minimal at $165. We'll talk about that later on slide 9. Overall spending is balanced and on track, and we're well positioned to meet our operational and personal obligations through the remainder of the fiscal year. This slide provides a snapshot of our personnel expenditures as of March 1st, 2026. Overall, we expended about $6.1 million, or 49% of the personnel budget, leaving roughly 51% remaining. Salary and wages are at 63% utilization, which is in line with our current staffing levels. Overtime is higher at 89%, reflecting continued operational demands, though it remains within the budget. Health insurance and workers' compensation appear partially or fully expended, but these costs are being shifted to centralized town accounts in the upcoming budget. Pension is not reflected here due to the timing of those payments, and overall spending is tracking appropriately, and we remain in a stable position to meet personal obligations through the remainder of the fiscal year. Looking at overtime by division. Now, I'm going to warn you on this slide. This is a slide that I got. This is March 21, 2026. This does not show the reimbursement, so it's a little bit slightly high than what the next slide is going to show you that we do on a biweekly basis. I want to preface that. Looking at the overtime by division, we expended about $460,000 of our $518,000 budget, over 89%, leaving roughly $58,000 remaining. Patrol accounts for the largest share, and it's at 76% spent, which is within manageable range. Administration is at 49%, which is still tracking well. This is one of the areas with discrepancies. The detective division are at 96% of their budget, with very little remaining, so that line is nearly fully utilized. Support services, dispatch are both over budget by 142%, with deficits approximately $5,700 and $37,000 respectively. These overages are driving much of the overtime pressure per this slide. Overall, while some of these divisions remain on track, overtime spending, particularly in dispatch and patrol, will require close monitoring through the remainder of the fiscal year. Now, as I said, this is from a Munis report from March 1, 2026. This is a further breakdown. Right, there are two key points I'd like to highlight regarding our overtime management. First, we closely monitor our overtime on a biweekly basis. My division commanders review it biweekly. They control their budgets, and we meet biweekly to speak about our overtime. During each pay period, command staff meets to review overtime usage across all divisions, ensuring accountability and allowing us to identify trends early. At this point, we're slightly over budget by 0.24%, or $1,237. Based on our internal tracking and after accounting for grant funding, as well as reimbursements from the DEA and Board of Education, we estimate a total overtime expenditure of $519,000, or 0.24% of the budget. So the prior slide does not reflect the reimbursements. This slide, because we do biweekly budget management, incorporates our reimbursements into our budget. So with 5 pay periods remaining, this places us within that plus minus 4% of finance projections from the finance office, demonstrating close alignment and consistent monitoring of our overtime. In terms of where overtime is occurring, professional standards overtime is largely driven by mandatory recruit training at the post academy, which is contractually required. We currently have 5 recruits in the academy, so that is driving our overtime costs. Patrol division overtime is primarily associated with backfilling shifts due to mandated training, staffing vacancies, parental leave, injuries, and illness. The biggest driving force in our patrol this year is we had a sergeant drive up the, well, he didn't drive up the cost, he was severely ill and was out of work for 3 months. So that had to be backfilled. That was a driving cost on patrol. Communications remains a significant driver with approximately $164,000 in overtime due to contractual staffing requirements and vacancies, sick leave and vacations. We were down a dispatcher for approximately 9 months. And then by the time we hired a dispatcher, trained the dispatcher on the CTO program for 3 months. Now we're fully staffed, but that was driving costs there. And the other contractual issue with the communications is they have built into their contract that if we have to order in a dispatcher, that dispatcher gets paid double time. So that drove up our costs significantly this year, but now we're fully staffed, so we don't have to worry about that in the next fiscal budget. So to manage and reduce overtime, we've implemented several strategies. Within patrol, we are reassigning administrative and specialty personnel to cover shifts when possible, provided it does not conflict with contractual obligations. We have also restructured how we conduct mandatory training. Previously, all sworn personnel were scheduled for training within a single week, which created substantial overtime costs. Now, training such as firearms and defensive tactics is distributed throughout the month, focusing on days with staffing above minimum levels. This approach allows for more flexibility and reduces the need for widespread backfilling. While it does not eliminate overtime, it helps mitigate the costs. Additionally, we are taking a more strategic approach to elective training. For specialized courses, instructor development, and leadership training, we now evaluate each request against projected schedules to determine the potential overtime impact. In some cases, requests have been denied if associated overtime costs are too high. It's important to note that many of these training opportunities are funded through asset forfeiture, which also helps offset our overall expenses. Overall, we remain actively engaged in managing overtime through consistent oversight, operational adjustments, and disciplined decision-making. This slide shows the overtime over the past 10 fiscal years. To give you some historical background, I believe the only one who was on council when I first was here was Councilman Forrest, so he will know exactly what I'm talking about. From fiscal year 15 through 18, we saw steady increases followed by some fluctuation and gradual declines in the years after. More recently, overtime decreased from a high of approximately $816,000 in fiscal year 2021 to about $612,000 in fiscal year 2024-25, reflecting improved staffing levels and cost control efforts by our department. For fiscal year 25-26, overtime is projected at approximately $643,000, a modest 5% increase. This reflects ongoing operational demands while still remaining below prior peak levels. For historical background, in fiscal year 21-22, when I was first hired, overtime was budgeted at approximately $680,000. That was the overtime budget for the police department. The following year, that budget was reduced by 24% to roughly $518,000. That was a $160,000 reduction by the council to the overtime budget. And it still currently remains flat in this budget. We are not asking for any increases. It is important to note that had the fiscal year 25-26 budget remained at prior levels of that $680,000, the department would have actually come in under budget, demonstrating the current level is lean and closely managed. These figures span multiple labor contracts, including our current agreement running through 2027, and reflect our continued efforts to control overtime while still meeting operational and staffing demands. Overall, the trend demonstrates that overtime spending has stabilized and is being actively managed while still ensuring we meet the services that our community needs. This slide outlines our non-personnel expenditures. Year-to-date, we have expended approximately $504,000, or 65% of the non-personnel budget, leaving about 35% remaining within 5 pay periods in our budget. Most line items are tracking appropriately based on seasonal and operational needs. Utilities, software, and maintenance-related accounts show higher utilization due to payment timing and ongoing operational demands. One area to note is travel, training, and dues, which is currently over budget. This reflects increased training for the recruits in the academy. Overall, despite some timing-related variances, non-personnel spending remains controlled and aligned with the department's operational requirements. That should read fiscal year 26-27, another mistake that I caught. Moved out there. The proposed personnel budget reflects a net decrease of $1.6 million, or 13.03%. This reduction is primarily the result of transferring $1.6 million in health insurance costs and $200,000 in workers' compensation expenses out of the police department's budget and into the town's employee health benefits and karma account, which is reflected on page 34 of your books. When you account for that shift, the remaining personnel costs show only a modest increase. These are driven by contractual salary adjustments of about $193,000, while overtime, like I stated earlier, remains flat at $518,545. Smaller increases include FICA, Life, and AD&D at just over $4,000 and defined contribution obligations at approximately $26,000. Overall, this reflects a structural adjusted budget that continues to meet contractual obligations while maintaining responsible staffing levels. This slide outlines the proposed non-personnel operating expenses for fiscal year 26-27. Overall, the budget reflects a 4.78% increase, or approximately $37,000, bringing the total to about $816,000. The majority of the increases are tied to contractual obligations, inflationary impacts, and essential operational needs, including software services, utilities, equipment maintenance, and professional services. Notably, we've incorporated animal control costs and account for increases in electricity and technology-related services. We've also taken steps to offset costs where possible, including reduction in support services and office supplies. Overall, this is a measured and necessary increase that ensures we can maintain operational support, operations, support our personnel, and continue delivering effective public services. The general fund budget for the police department reflects a responsible and strategic reduction for fiscal year 27. I stated what I said earlier. You're going to hear it again right now. The proposed personnel budget reflects a net decrease of $1.6 million, or 13.03%. This reduction is a result of the transferring the health insurance costs and workers' compensation expenses out of the police department budget and into the town's employee benefits and karma accounts. Personal expenses are projected to drop by $1.6 million, or 13.03%, reflecting careful staffing management and control costs. At the same time, non-personnel expenses are proposed to increase modestly by $37,271, or 4.78%. This increase ensures we continue to support central operational needs, maintain equipment, and provide the resources necessary for effective policing services. In fiscal year 26, the adopted budget totaled $13.4. For fiscal year 27, we are proposing a reduction budget of $11.82 million, representing an overall decrease of approximately $1.6 million, or 11.99%. In summary, the budget achieves a substantial overall reduction while still preserving the department's ability to deliver professional, effective, and community-based public safety services. This you do not have in your slides or your slide book, and it's not up here, but if the town did not remove those line items from my budget and it remained the same with the healthcare and workers' comp in the budget, and I had to do this budget with those two line items in there, my increase request would have been only 1% this year. That would have equated to $33,271. So step raises, increases, in services, I still would have came in at a 1% request for the town this year. This slide reflects our capital CNEF requests for fiscal year 27. Tonight, we're requesting funding to replace 4 aging patrol and canine vehicles and to add 2 additional patrol vehicles to support fleet expansions needs for fiscal year 26 through 27. This request is driven by 2 primary factors: the need to replace vehicles that have exceeded their safe and reliable service life, and the need to expand our fleet to meet increased staff and operational demand. To begin, several of our current patrol vehicles are well beyond their intended life cycle. These units range from approximately 78,000 to 97,000 miles, but more importantly, they reflect extremely high engine hour usage due to the nature of police operations, including prolonged idling. When engine hours are properly accounted for, these vehicles reflect hundreds of thousands of miles of operational wear. As a result, we are now experiencing significant mechanical issues, including transmission failure and overall reliability concerns. These vehicles are no longer dependable for frontline patrol use and are currently out of warranty, further increasing repair costs and downtime. The operational impact is significant. These mechanical issues reduce patrol availability and increase the maintenance burdens. Simply put, the conditions of the vehicles directly affects our ability to deliver consistent and reliable police services to the community. In addition to the replacement needs, this request includes 2 additional patrol vehicles for fleet expansion. These units are necessary to support increased staffing levels, improve vehicle rotation, and reduce the strain placed on our existing fleet. Without expansion, the remaining vehicles will continue to experience accelerated wear and reduce availability. From a strategic standpoint, we are standardizing our fleet on the Ford Explorer Police Interceptor utility platform. This vehicle is well suited for patrol operations, emergency response, and prisoner transport. It is also fully supported by our Physical Services Division, which already has extensive experience maintaining this platform. This standardization improves efficiency, reduces downtime, and simplifies long-term maintenance. Each patrol vehicle will be fully equipped with the necessary technology to support modern policing. This includes the ruggedized GTAC A140 tablets, mobile data routers, keyboards, and integrated systems such as a Start Chase, which will be transferred from existing vehicles and installed with new kits. These tools are essential for field operations and officer safety. So the total request for this project is $433,000. This includes 5 patrol-ready vehicles, 1 administrative vehicle, and all associated technology and equipment. In summary, this request will allow us to replace unreliable, high-mileage vehicles that are impacting operational readiness while also expanding our fleet to meet current and future staffing needs. It will reduce long-term maintenance costs, improve fleet reliability, and ensure our officers have safe, dependable equipment to perform their duties. Most importantly, this investment directly supports public safety and ensures that Wethersfield Police Department remains fully equipped to serve our community effectively. This slide just shows a comparison from what was adopted in 2026 and what we're proposing in 2027. The increased change of $365,000 in the request. So in conclusion, the Wethersfield Police Department is proposing 11.99% overall budget decrease, 13.0% decrease in personnel costs driven by the transfer of health insurance and workers' compensation to town management accounts, alongside a 4.78% increase in non-personnel funding to support staffing, preserve benefits, and meet critical operational needs. This budget underscores the department's continued commitment to public safety, operational efficiency, and long-term fiscal responsibility, ensuring we continue to serve the Wethersfield community with professionalism and accountability. The Capital Non-Reoccurring Expenditure Fund CNEF request for 26-27 is $433,000 for the 5 patrol-ready vehicles, 1 administrative vehicle, and all associated technology and equipment. This request replaces high-mileage, unreliable vehicles that are impacting operational readiness and expands the fleet to meet current and future staffing needs. It will reduce long-term maintenance costs, improve reliability, and ensure officers have safe, dependable equipment. Most importantly, this investment directly supports public safety and ensures that the Wethersfield Police Department remains fully equipped to serve the community effectively. And with that, that concludes my presentation. I'll take any questions.
Thank you, Chief. Very thorough, detailed, excellent presentation. Thank you. I'm now going to open it up for council questions or comments, and I see Councilor Bailey up first. Councilor Bailey.
Couple of quick ones. 4 or 5 in your operating budget, before you went to CNEF, there was a line for overtime that had 643.
643 on the bottom, the projected for
Yeah,
this year.
maybe 643, 541, yeah, but, and then later on, you said it was flat at 518. Was that due to because of the full-timers you didn't have and had to fill it with more overtime?
No, the overtime budget's remaining flat. My request is $518,545. That's the projected overage right now. We're projected to be this year come in at $643,000. So we're going to be over budget. If you subtract the 643 from the 518, we're going to be over budget. Actually, I got my big master's.
But next year you're thinking 518?
I'm staying at 518 because I'm in that 5-year rotation now. Because when I first came here, I don't want to change the budget until I can find out what the problem is. We're getting to that point now in this 3-year swing where I can see that we're flatlining our budget. So next year, I'm probably going to request an increase in my overtime budget to offset that, to zero it out, and it's probably going to be a $60,000 increase request. So still below that 680 that was reduced on my budget in 2021, but I'm going to have to increase it to offset the cost for step raises and things of that nature. But this is, like I said earlier, this year was kind of a little rough with being down a dispatcher for almost a year and then being out a sergeant for 3 months. That drove my overtime costs up. If I didn't, this number would be a lot lower, to be honest.
Okay. Fair enough. And just the second one was the new vehicles. Does that have the town doing the work or having them come in ready from the dealer?
As you're talking about the upfits?
Yeah.
With the equipment, that contractual through MHQ, they'll come in ready, upfitted, and then the town takes over as the maintenance afterwards.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Bailey. Further council comments or questions? Councilor Dirk.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Chief, for a great presentation. So I'm just going to dig deeper into the overtime. We talked about it last year. If we are fully staffed, and I think you're fully staffed at the moment, and you have the dispatchers and everything, can we expect to get closer to that 518 this year if we don't have any hiccups?
I hope we will. I think we can. I think right now we have the 5 in the academy, so they're not. When we're talking about recruits in the academy, you have to understand it's a year before they become ready on the road.
Okay.
It's about 7 months through the academy, another 3 months of training of FTO, then they become on their own. So
we
right
hired
now
them,
we
but
have,
not
we have
really there.
half in this year's budget, so next year half, and the other half will be in next year's budget. The dispatcher's already off FTO. He's fully going, so we're fully staffed there. So now it's really going to hopefully see the reduction, which will start leveling out that 518. It's going to be higher, but it's going to be above 518, but it's not going to be as high as this. I hope, knock on wood.
Okay.
And as you can see, the other costs from the prior year, like the year prior was 612. So you can see the driving costs of being down personnel compared to not. And going all the way from 816,792. Since we've been here and we've been putting this together, look, you can see the 3 decreases of 3%, 15%, 6%. So this modest 5% increase is, as I explained, because of being short-staffed. We're going to work on that 5% when they're off on the road on their own, and we should be fairly good at that point, as I promised.
Thank you, Councilor Dirk. I have
Councilman Forrest when he first cut my budget.
Councilor Dirk. Sorry.
Thank you. Mr. O'Neill, where does the money come from for the budget overage? So in this case, we spend more money on the overtime than we budgeted. Where does that money come from to cover the difference?
Mike, come up to the microphone because we've had some folks ask. They can't hear you.
From home.
Good evening, Mike O'Neill, Director of Finance. That would come from either unexpended funds in other departments or the contingency account, which is, we have $340,000 budgeted in that account.
Thank you. And the last question is, when it comes to vehicles, I know we talked about going back on schedule, not just with the police, but with all the other departments, so we don't get a case where one year you need one vehicle, the next year you need 6 vehicles. What's being proposed right now, it's about 59% of the overall CNEF budget. Is there a bigger plan on, so we can put these vehicles on schedule for physical services, police department, so you kind of get every year to year with similar budget instead of just waiting to see what's going to happen, who's going to need 1 or 17 vehicles in a year?
Well, what we do is we're constantly tracking our fleet. We're constantly going over the mileage. And I said this to all of you before, and I'll say it again. I don't ask for niceties. I ask for what we actually need. And that's based on the running miles, the running hours of these vehicles. And in an ideal world, like some other police departments, they have 2 fleets. So if you took my 4 cars and doubled it to 8, that means I could run them off shift, which expands the life of the vehicle. So these are replacing what we're taking offline now. And even with these vehicles we're taking offline at the patrol function, they're going to our spare vehicles, which are used for construction jobs that you see out there. So they're being utilized in that aspect, and once they're done idling on those, then they get turned over to the town. So in the ideal world, to your point, to get to that point, if I had 8 cruisers that were offsetting each other every 8 hours, the run life would be longer, the life of the vehicle would be longer, maintenance would be reduced, and costs eventually over time would probably come down. But based on the expenditures that Mike O'Neill's talking about, I don't know if that's feasible or not. In the real world, some other towns do it in the state. I know one that's over the river, and their fleet's lasting forever.
Eric and I have also been working on a fleet management program. We've been talking to Enterprise about that for at least 6 months, a long time. We're going to have something for you next week, that program involves a leasing component, and if you look at that CNEF plan, I think, we really need to take a look at that and see, it just would allow us to address more needs over time. It comes with an interest cost, which we'll break out so you can understand that, but that's what we'll have for you. And we rolled in, once the chief put their plan together for vehicles, we rolled that into this enterprise proposal as well.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Durek. Councilor Wants.
I just had one quick question, and thank you for the fabulous presentation as always, Chief.
Thank you.
In the budget book, the numbers have 66 personnel and 38 patrol officers, and in the presentation you had 37 and 65, so I just want to make sure we're working with the right numbers here.
We're working with 65.
All set, Councilor Wants.
Thank you.
Councilor Weiner.
I don't know if anybody's ever told you yet, but great presentation. On the new vehicles, are the old vehicles, the ones that are aging out, sold or auctioned off to offset the cost?
No,
they're not.
We take them offline. We'll put them as our patrol vehicles for construction. Then we'll turn them over to fiscal services.
Oh, okay.
Fiscal services takes them over. They repurpose them to the town, and then when they run their life there, then I don't know where they go from. That's Sally Katz's question.
Life cycle.
Yeah. And we need those vehicles in physical services, or could we auction or sell them off to offset the cost?
We don't just use them in physical service. We use them throughout the town. So like engineering has one of them now, one of the former police vehicles that they're using. Parks and Rec has a former police vehicle. If we can use them, if they're safe and if they're deemed, usable. They're not good for pursuit, but for, driving down for an inspection, they might be okay. So that's kind of where we're at.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Weiner. Further council, I have Councilor Penelo, then Councilor Forrest.
I just have for Mike O'Neill, you were talking about a lease program. I don't know how that would work with police vehicles when you're leasing a vehicle, because of they're just damaged by the time they're done. If he's asking for 5, 8 would be better. And I know it's not a time for 8. I get that. But trying to lease a vehicle, I don't know what they'd have to charge us per month, per year at the end of it. Because
it actually
in 2 years I could see like a fire truck. Yeah. I don't know that I could see a.
Yeah, it actually is. They do this with lots of different communities now, and they do all kinds of vehicles. We're actually looking at it for some of the lighter duty dump trucks, like the F-350s and things like that. And those get beat up, from from physical services. So they can do all those types of vehicles. They'll price it accordingly based upon what they experience in other localities, but that's why we're looking at the numbers and see if it works and if we can do it. But, so they're looking at the police thing for us now, but they do this in other communities, so.
I totally get it. I'm just saying a police car runs 24/7.
No question.
It never shut off. And, even a physical service truck has that 8 hours, maybe 10. But I just wanted to put that out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Penelo. Councilor Forrest.
Been here the whole time. This is tremendous work. I'm not going to say it's a great presentation. This is tremendous. This is tremendous. This is tremendous work.
Thank you. I made you a promise
Tremendous work
5
by your
years ago.
team, staff, putting it together. I know what the plan was 5 years ago.
I made that promise to you that day.
You did. And this is promise fulfilled. This is dedication to the systematic change. I want to get up and applaud, but
Thank
it'd
you.
be obnoxious, right? And so I'm just going to tell the whole team here, the leadership, it's not just you, I know. I mean, it is.
It's a
but
team.
not
It's a
just
team
the
effort. It's not just me.
And we knew it had to be done from contracts. We knew it had to be done from morale. We knew it had to be done from litigation. Like we knew, and we're there. And it's impressive.
Thank you.
It's just impressive. It's dedication to the plan. I know what your background is, and I can't say I'm surprised, but you still got to do the lift. And, walking the walk is different than talking the talk. And you have. So, we're not going to get into that. So it's great. And I do have a couple really side questions, but because it's just part of the future of everything. The first is on the administrative SUV. Is that going to be outfitted like you would outfit a patrol car as well, or is that a little bit of a different sort of use case?
It's a different case. It's going to stay more of an admin vehicle, and then we transfer that. Eventually, we transfer that into the DD, the administrative side. It stays on the administrative side of the house, so detective bureau and things of that nature. Because I really, if we're going to do it, it's a reduced cost on the admin vehicle, and there's no need to add costs. We're going to buy a patrol vehicle. I want to buy the patrol vehicle, put it in the patrol, get the kinks out, make sure it's under warranty and fixed. The admin one is reduced, and it will still get transferred down to the undercover work or DD work.
Yep. So I'd just like you to have an open mind and consider this. I know you have in the past.
I got someone that could sell you on the admin vehicle. Lieutenant Osharsky's looking for it. He's ready to go.
As we continue to formulate our energy policy, and of course we know the cost of gas these days, if that is a particular car at an SUV level, I know there's the concerns you've had with the electric car already, and I share in those. Like, we talked about that. I've been on patrol with your officers. There's conversation. But for that particular vehicle might be the right fit for an electric type situation. I'd just like you to consider that. You don't have to answer it right now, and as we move forward, we can have offline conversations. We don't have to have. But if there is that particular concept, we have the chargers there already. It might be a good fit, and I'd like you to at least consider it.
I will. I got 2 extra chargers. And another thing that I spoke about, and I'm still trying to get to, but we get sidetracked every once in a while. I know in California, their vehicles have 2 batteries where you can shut the vehicle off and still have the other battery backing up the MDTs.
Yeah.
So we don't have to shut them down. So that's another thing I need to look into, but a project that eventually we'll get to. But I gotta do the red light camera project.
I got you. Right. And there's a very successful police department in Indiana, which I'm kind of looking into. And when we look at budgets, they talk about saving hundreds of thousands of dollars, similar size, not like a 1 patrol car operation. It's a similar size town, maybe even a little bigger. And they've had some success in this area. So where it's appropriate, I think that conversation we can continue to have, and I'd like to have it. The next is a little bit tangential, but I know we're doing the stoplight cameras. We also have a conversation about the noise cameras, continuing conversation. Do you have an update on where we are for that and at the application?
Yeah, so obviously the priority now is the red light and the speed cameras.
Yeah.
Once we get those online, we've already spoken with the vendor, and they're going to be prepared to present to us options for the noise cameras as well. It was approved by the state, so we can do those, and we've already had initial conversations with DOT about putting them on some of the on-ramp areas along the Berlin Turnpike where we know we get a lot of complaints about, and they said that we would be able to do that. We would just have to go through a regular permitting process. So we're already setting it up, but we're just getting these online first.
If it's possible, as you're considering it, it's another enforcement, that's why we're talking to you, and it could be put into a budget as we get sort of discussion about how to fund it. If there's possibility to have a mobile version of that, because it does go the complaints that we get regularly, I'm sure you do too, it can move from location to location. So if it was so fixed, right, it's easy to do that for a location for traffic crashes because we get the presentation every month and they're fantastic. But for noise, right, that could be on Main Street on Wethersfield, or could be in the summertime, but then it could shift over to the South Deane, to the Pearl Turnpike, and so on and so forth. And the ability to have mobile enforcement where it's appropriate could be helpful. So if you could just sort of consider that on the way through.
We could research it.
That as well.
We'd have to check with the statute on that, because similarly with the speed and the stoplight cameras, we have to notify people, we have to sign it, we have to give advance notice. We'll just have to check on the statute and the terms, but we can definitely look into it.
Appreciate that. And the last one is on animal enforcement, right? I think, are we looking at a new pound, so to speak, and how is that working out as far as the budget goes? 'Cause I know that was part of our discussion over the last couple of years.
We're still in conversations with, we have an ask up at the state bond commission for funding to join with Glastonbury in the expansion of their pound, to do a shared service for that. And that would be for dogs. In the meantime, we're working with our animal control officer and the chief, looking at options for a separate cat facility, because that's a major concern right now. So we are looking at both of those, and we hope to have an answer from the state very shortly on the shared opportunity with Glastonbury.
Right. And currently, chief, as far as animal control, I think there was maybe the new van in the last budget. Are we good there with animal control and able to handle the needs of the town?
Oh, yes, she's up and running, and she's taking it, and I mean, you see things on Facebook, we got the truck in, she's doing a fantastic job, and she's spearheading this, the feral cat issue we're having in town. So she's on top of everything, and she's actually helping, train our officers. Because, animal control laws are not something we do every day, so she keeps us in check, too.
It can be very specific.
It can.
All right. Thank you very much for the time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilor Forrest. Further council questions or comments? I have a couple we're almost at the end of the night. Well, first of all, Chief, as I said before, great presentation, and appreciate all the work that the men and women of the PD do. And I have the opportunity when I meet with other mayors and other officials from around the state to brag about you guys. And one of the things I brag about is we have the #1 crime rate, lowest crime rate. I said it wrong. Lowest crime rate in the area, and that's all attributed to the work that you guys have done. Sure. And we're proud of that. Also proud of the red light and speed cameras. Now, I know it's taken a while to implement that, but we were the 5th in the state of Connecticut to get that approved. The council was a big priority, and your department has had a lot to help us get there, and we are right there. I see Jacob back there. I know I get this question all the time. They're coming soon, and the signage is coming soon. But the point for this meeting is thank you, all of you, on that. It's a significant safety improvement for the town, and it will literally save lives over time. So thank you for that. The 1 or 2 areas I just want to pursue with you, Councilor Forrest talked about the e-cars, and for the council to know that we have some new ones and some that might not have been around. We were the 2nd town in the state. I think Westport was first. Someone can correct me.
That's correct.
Westport was first, and I think we have 3. Just a quick comment in terms of their, and I know there's been some challenges and learning curves with stuff like that, but in terms of their use, in terms of what you see in the future, and then I want to talk to you about events as it relates to the budget. You guys do an amazing job supporting our events and how that impacts the budget. But maybe you can comment a little bit more about the cars, their impact, the e-cars, and the 3 of them. Do you use them? Do the officers like them? Do you see more of them in the future? And to follow up a little bit, Council, and we've talked a little about this before.
But we only actually have 2 EVs, Mayor. We got the 2 Ford Mustangs, the black one. Sorry about that. The black one is used is strictly for traffic enforcement. It's our traffic unit officer. He's doing a phenomenal job. That car is perfect for that role, because it's not running 8 hours. 24 hours a day. It's running that 8-hour period when he's on. he's assigned that vehicle, and he goes out into traffic enforcement. So it does a fantastic job. As you see, our numbers have increased with traffic stops. Him alone, he averages about 200 stops alone a month with that vehicle. As for the second one, the silver one that we have, that's utilized by the DD. So again, it's in that administrative capacity, it's doing what it needs to do, so it works perfectly in that role as well. So they're both efficient in what we need them to do. To run them 24 hours a day is not efficient, as we know, but when we need them in those roles, they're perfectly fine. They're doing what we need to do with them.
Good. The last area I want to talk, and perhaps the town manager or the finance director can help with this as well, is events. So in Wethersfield, and I like to say we have, I think the number's 22, but we have so many signature events. You guys know these, the Porch Fest, the Holidays on Main, the Bikes on Main, the Scarecrows on Main, all of these different fireworks, and on and on and on. And they're part of the fabric of our community. They're part of what makes Wethersfield so special. But it also taxes you guys. So my question to you is, one, how are you guys doing in managing them? And two, more appropriate to our conversation tonight, is the budgeting. Is that now in your budget, is in the town manager's budget, is staffing, the support for all of those events in terms of the taxing of your department, and then specifically, again, to the budget?
So the only money that's in the budget for it is the $50,000 from last year that was put in by the council, and it's under the town council budget, actually, and it's for, basically for events and our community events, I think it's listed as. We don't designate that for a certain department. What we do is we wait till the end of the year. We keep track of every single event for every department and what they're spending on the events. And then at the end of the year, if they're over budget and that's a big driver, then Mike's office will determine how to disperse that money. It doesn't come close to meeting the needs of what we're spending on these events, I'll tell you that. We actually have an accounting of every single event. Police is the largest cost because they've got especially when you have road closures and that type of thing, and they're usually on a Saturday or a Sunday, so you're talking overtime. But we do a great job managing them. I think we're confident that they're safe. We have stepped up our efforts in security, and police do a great job with that. We do require partial payment from the various groups that are taking part of these events, but we don't charge them the full amount just because the events wouldn't happen if we did. It would just be too much for them, particularly when they're fundraisers like the carnival and even holidays and stuff like that. So we try to find a middle point because, as I've explained to the council in the past, yes, it might be a chamber event or it might be a Keene Foundation event. They're also community events. We all have a benefit out of it. So, there should be skin in the game, if you will, from the community. However, I don't believe we should pay the full amount on any of them. I think it has to be a shared expense.
Thank you, Mr. Town Manager. Did you have any comments on that? And Councilor Wands, in terms of your department and staffing these events, we have so many.
Yeah, show us what we need. We'll show up and be ready to go.
Councilor Wands.
My question is about events too. I know we're talking about moving Holidays on Main from Thursdays to Saturdays. So I'm wondering overall if you anticipate that's going to have added costs to the town and if that's been factored into this year's budget.
It is going to have an added cost. We did not add it to the budget. We met with the chamber and explained to them that they need to pay for the additional, again, it's mostly PD. So we came up with an estimate and we said, if you're willing to raise the additional funds to cover it, then we will move it to Saturday.
Thank you.
So it's going to be December 5th, Saturday.
And my understanding is they're going to have a second bingo night to help pay for that. So Councilor Wands or any other councilors who want to go to bingo night to help pay for having the Holidays on Main on a Saturday, and I think the date's December 5th. I think they have the date December 5th. So does anybody else have any questions for the PD? If not? So before we close it out, councilors, we're here at 6 o'clock tomorrow night. We have elections, library, fire marshal, fire suppression, and IT services. 6 o'clock here tomorrow night. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I don't even know if we need to do that. Adjourn? Oh, you did?
Yes, you did.
Who? Thank you very much.